All board directors are present. Please note that this is a regular scheduled meeting. It's held to conduct district business. It is open to the public and it is being recorded. So tonight, instead of having the Pledge of Allegiance, we have a special treat. We've got our Naval Junior ROTC program here to present the colors. So please stand for the presentation of the colors and remain standing for the national anthem.
Colors! Halt! Left! Face! Carry! Colors! Ready? Cut! Present! Colors!
We have our students from Gig Harbor here.
Carry! Colors! Ready? Cut! Order! Colors! Right! Face! Forward! March!
That was undoubtedly my mistake, so please remain standing for the national anthem. Go ahead. Thank you. That was outstanding. Hey, we have a special evening tonight, so it's going to run a little bit differently. Thank you. We're going to start the meeting with Board Director Jennifer Butler here, and then we'll take a brief pause as we swear in new and returning board members. First item on the agenda, however, is the approval of our agenda for the evening. So is there any discussion prior to the vote? Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
One last time. It's been moved by Jennifer and seconded by David. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. Agenda is approved. All right. Without further ado, item 3.1 is the recognition of outgoing board member Jennifer Butler. So this evening, we will each say a few comments here about, the directors will, about Jennifer Butler, and then I'll invite anyone from the audience if they'd like to come up and have some words. And then we have one action item before you leave, and then allow you to say your words before you leave. So I will start. Tonight, we're recognize and thank Jennifer Butler as she concludes her 4-year term on the Peninsula School Board. Jennifer's commitment to this district began long before the 2021 election, as most of you know. As a school's architect, she has long understood the complexity of building schools, the challenge of aging facilities, and limited to capital funding, to say the least. And she's been a fierce advocate not only for modern, safe learning spaces, but also to make sure that students are thriving in the buildings and the facilities that we have. I first met Jennifer Butler through a former board director, now State Senator Deb Krishnadasan, as we were trying to put our heads together to figure out how to get an ROTC program in the district. So we toured South Kitsap High School and tried to figure out how we could make this work. Turns out, during that first meeting, we figured out that our paths had crossed decades earlier, as she was an ROTC at Stanford, I was an ROTC at Cal, and we shared a space, same time, same years, same days, and never met. Apparently, it was destined to be that we worked together at some point. So here we are, and ROTC brought us together, and I think what we witnessed tonight is a testament to your leadership and what happens when someone as committed as Director Butler puts her mind and her heart to making something happen for students. When you joined the board, we were still at the tail end of COVID. You were sworn in with a mask, and you stepped into some significant challenges: declining enrollment, funding cliffs, shifting programs, intense political division, a brand new superintendent, a half-baked strategic plan, and this crazy crew that we've come to know and love. Through all that, though, you have remained our rudder, and I'm going to try to use some Navy terms just because why not? But above all else, you have always kept your focus on what's best for kids. And through thick and thin, through the emotional stuff, through the hard stuff, through the fun stuff, it's always been about what's for kids. And I appreciate that. I think from my perspective, your impact is impossible to quantify, but there are a couple of things that really stand out and I think need to be called out publicly one last time. Above the rest, I think, is your unwavering support for literacy and our literacy task force, and recognizing that the ability to read is foundational to learning anything else. And it was because of your leadership and your dogged passion for that that we developed the literacy task force. And from that grew professional development, changes in curriculum, recognition about the value of the science of reading, and I am certain in my belief that not only will literacy outcomes improve for the students of the Peninsula School District, but they will be improved across the state of Washington. You worked hard to make sure that WASDA has a literacy-focused permanent position, and I hope that you are proud knowing that moving forward, we can advocate for our students and for improved literacy because of the work that you did and the words that you wrote. On a personal note, I've never read as much, speaking of literacy, as I have since meeting Jennifer, my daily reading assignments. I hope they will continue. I think you've raised my reading level a grade level or two. I still haven't finished Sunday's reading yet, but working on it. But also, your work to build equitable systems for community engagement is something that I think is a lasting legacy and impact here. So whether it's the Literacy Task Force, the Special Education Parent Advisory Group, capital projects, facilities, you made sure that the way we do things through resolution, through a really determined effort to make sure that a broad perspective is heard and everything that impacts student lives is something that was codified into our policy and our procedures, and that will live on long after all of us. Your expertise in bonds and levies will, I want to say it will be missed, but we're not going to stop asking you for your advice and your guidance on this. And we're sitting in a building right now that's a testament to your work. Passing a bond is incredibly challenging. It doesn't happen very often, and we passed a huge one in 2019 because of your leadership and because of the work of SUP. Ongoing levies, we've got one coming up. It's so important that our community understand the investment in kids, and you've done an amazing job in making sure that they know why it's so valuable. And there's a couple young ladies sitting in the front row for whom all of this work is. So Sydney and Abby, Mark and Judy, your family, I want to thank you for sharing your mom, your daughter-in-law with this community. I know it's taken a lot of times that she would probably rather be with you guys, but she was here doing some really hard work. I hope that you know that it has mattered. And I hope that you hear tonight from other people how much your mom is valued. And I also hope that you know that she did it for you. So you may be closing a chapter on your elected service, but I think we all know we've not heard the last from Jennifer. I know that you understand the honor of being elected and being part of the democratic process and being a voice for people. And you have taken that trust and you have led with exceptional integrity and courage and commitment. And I am better and stronger and a better leader because of your friendship and your partnership. And you will be deeply missed. So thank you. And we'll now pass on to the rest of the team. I'm not sure, we didn't plan out who wants to go first. Yeah, go down.
Well, Natalie, you said that very nicely, and I have little to add as far as specifics and the places where I felt like you just really shined and changes that you made that are just lasting. My comments are more along the line of just what a fantastic addition to the board you were in every way. I cannot express enough to those of you who don't get to work with Jennifer on a regular basis. I did not know you well before this, but I knew you and we'd worked together through SUP. But Jennifer is, in my opinion, a fantastic leader because you can't always predict what she's going to say or what her opinion is going to be. And I think that is one of your finest qualities. And it's always rooted in just intelligent research and passion for what's right for students. And sometimes I would think we would be on the same page on something and she would have a completely different idea. And other times it would be, I just would be sometimes surprised by your opinion, and always in a great way. It's a hard quantity to really explain, but I've appreciated that about you so much. And you have made me feel contributions of mine you have valued, and that's been important to me. And then also, hopefully that has gone both ways. But my also very favorite thing that you often say, and this is what led to the things that you specifically mentioned, anytime that Jennifer or the board, anytime we had an idea, we learned that it had never been done here before, that's never been done, or, we've never heard of that before, or anything like that, Jennifer would always think, but could we? Could we do that here? Is there a way to make that happen? And it didn't matter what was the reason. It could be everyone in the room wanted to have it done, but no one knew how to get there from here. And she would find a way, or at least research how it could happen. And so that I will miss the most. And of course, your humor when things were humorless sometimes. that was great. So and I appreciate you. You did share my specific passion for communications and facilities. So hopefully we can carry the torch forward on those things. But I could go on, but thank you so much. And I'm happy for your family that you get to not be here on Tuesday nights anymore and be with them.
Let the crier go next. I also met her through Deb, and I think probably 2017. We were ramping up for the 2018 bond, and we were sort of partners in the community. We went all over the place I would speak on behalf of the board, with the superintendent, and then she would give the presentation, and then we go somewhere else, or we go to Lions Club's events, but it was sort of partnering on what's up with the board and what we needed to do to try and get that 2018. That wasn't a pretty 2017. Those board meetings were pretty intense. It was as intense almost as it was during COVID, backpack rooms and not happy people because they really wanted that bond to pass. And Deb and I, not Deb, but Deb too probably, and Shayna and some others, and Jennifer, we doorbelled all over town. We'd doorbelled all over the Key Peninsula, put our heart and soul into that 2018. It came up a little short, but we doubled down and kept doing it, and we got to 2019 on passed, and this is one of the results, this beautiful school, along with the other ones that you're aware of.
David, would you like me to go? Are you ready?
So she joined the board and became a partner. So we're partners with SUP, building the schools. And we were working more than half baked on a strategic plan. And Jennifer walks right in. And we'd done a lot of work on that strategic plan. And Deb stepped out, and we were like, oh, we were pretty good. Jennifer walks in and goes, you know what? And we start redoing a strategic plan. And welcome aboard, shipmate. So, but no, Jennifer's, we got a lot of work. We made a strategic plan better. She has a different viewpoint coming from construction and architecture and all that she knows about all the processes about building schools. So it definitely added value to that. I don't remember which one you said it, but she always adds a different perspective. We don't always agree, but we always disagree respectfully. Because it's always what's best for kids. It's been a tough year for me. You're my friend. And I miss you. Sorry.
Yeah, everybody said pretty much everything. For me, it's, I'm gonna miss, just being able to converse with you about some of the issues that we have, especially the disparity that we have with the kids that really need help. And Jennifer really, really cares about the kids. Really cares about making sure that we have all the tools for all the kids. And we said it in the strategic plan, every kid, every day. And that really came out when Jennifer got involved, when we were working on that. We were looking for a way to say that, and I think that that says it all, that every kid, every day. And we're gonna give them every opportunity that we can. I've known Jennifer for a while before the school board here being involved in Peninsula Schools Education Foundation. And I know that her heart is not gonna leave the kids, so. I said it back there a little while ago that there's always an opportunity to run for this board again. You know, just saying. But you're definitely gonna be missed in your perspective, and don't be surprised if you don't hear the phone ringing, and a question from me, kind of just to get your perspective on something. Yeah. Yeah. Appreciate it.
Nothing like being last. You know, as a superintendent, I think it's so important that the public realizes that elected officials do this for the money. These are really, really hard, heartfelt jobs. And elected officials also have lives, and they have their own jobs, many of them. And when I think of Jennifer, Jennifer and I really feel like we started together. Deb, when I was first hired in the summer, she came to me and she said, "I'm not going to run, and I'm, going to go do something else." And then I met Jennifer, and I will always remember, I had all these questions. I had, what do you love about this school district? What do you not? And she came in like a dynamo. There's a few words that I would use for your mom. So tell me if this is correct. She's fierce. She's relentless. She's wicked smart. And she is a learner. She's willing to learn and listen to many sides. She's precise. I will miss the preciseness, like you would point out things that I thought I saw but I didn't see, and I really, really need people around me like that, because I am a forest person and you can see the trees, and that is really a gift. You really are brilliant, and one thing that we always say, that's fantastic, as a group, during really difficult times, because you have served coming out of a worldwide pandemic with masks, and we had shoes here, we've had all kinds of things, we've had all kinds of conversations, and through it all, you did come in and you did influence the strategic plan, and the words that are reflected and will continue to be reflected are things that I know that you believe deeply. So I just want to thank you so much for serving. I know you're not going anywhere, because I know those two beautiful girls sitting right there who don't want to be pointed out right now. So I know teenagers, they are not pleased about that. But you do it on behalf of children. And that's one thing that I would say this entire board has always served the needs of children in the face of difficult times, in difficult conversations, and with adult issues. And so I want to thank you for your courageousness. I want to thank you for your humility. And I want to wish you the very best as you go off, and know that we will need your insight as we go forward. So thank you.
Okay, so I think there are some people here who want to speak about Jennifer, and in just a moment, I will invite anyone from the public who would like to say a thank you before she leaves. But something that we do as a board to kind of codify Jennifer's time here and our appreciation of that is to put it in a resolution, and then it lives on with district record forever. So I'm going to call you out and ask you to stand as I read a resolution of appreciation, if you don't mind. Huh? Just right there. Lots of whereas. So this is Peninsula School District, Resolution number 2513, a resolution of appreciation for Board Director Jennifer Butler. Whereas Jennifer Butler was elected to the Peninsula School District Board of Directors in 2021 and has served with unwavering dedication, character, integrity, and humility throughout her 4-year term. And whereas Jennifer was no stranger to the Peninsula School District upon beginning her tenure, having previously served as chair of Stand Up for Peninsula Schools, and without her leadership, strategic thinking, community engagement, and tireless advocacy, the 2019 bond initiative, which made possible 4 beautiful new schools, Evergreen, Artendale, Swiftwater, and Pioneer, and the fully modernized Key Peninsula and Kopachuk Middle Schools, would not have been realized. And whereas throughout her service, Jennifer has been a tireless advocate for equitable and appropriate state funding for public education, authoring multiple resolutions independently that were adopted by the Washington State School Directors Association, laying the foundation for a collective statewide effort to secure fair and sustainable capital funding so that every student may learn in safe and high-quality facilities. And whereas, while her professional expertise lies in architecture and the built environment, Jennifer's heart has always been with and for kids. And when she saw a need, she not only said something, she did something. She was instrumental in establishing a framework for community advisory committees, including the Special Education Parent Advisory Committee, the Long Range Facilities Planning Committee, and the Finance and Audit Committee, ensuring that these bodies operate with transparency, equity, and alignment to district policy and practice, all in service to students. And whereas Jennifer has been a steadfast champion for literacy, immersing herself in research, books, studies, and podcasts to understand best practices, while also listening intently to families and educators to bridge gaps between need and action. Through her advocacy, the district adopted a new literacy curriculum, expanded teacher training, and has seen measurable growth in student outcomes. And whereas during a period of significant leadership transition, Jennifer became a stabilizing force on the board, investing countless hours to master the complexities of governance, policy, budget, and strategic vision, demonstrating exceptional diligence, intellect, and commitment to the principles of effective school board leadership. And whereas none of this would have been possible without the love and steadfast support of her husband, Mark, who often rearranged his own schedule to accommodate her public service, and their daughters, Abby and Sydney, remind us that every moment devoted to this work is ultimately for the benefit of students just like them. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Peninsula School District Board of Directors hereby expresses its deepest appreciation to Director Jennifer Butler for her extraordinary service, principled leadership, and enduring commitment to the students, families, and educators of the Peninsula School District. Her thoughtful leadership, integrity, and devotion to the mission of public education have strengthened our schools and will continue to benefit generations of learners to come. Congratulations. So I will now ask, there was not a sign up for this, if there's anyone who wanted to come up and just say a few words about Jennifer, we would welcome that. You can just kind of come and queue up at the microphone here.
Hello, I'm Peter Nash, and the first time I ever talked to Jennifer, my wife put me in touch with her, and it was to tell her all the things she was doing wrong in the the first bond campaign, the 2018, so yeah, the one you were referring to, David. And you know, I'm sure she really appreciated that, just some rando guy telling her what's bad. And but you know what, she listened, and she provided some context. Maybe I didn't understand everything, and really just kind of subtly said, look, what we need is, we need help. We don't necessarily just need a boatload of new ideas. We need doers. And you know, that's got a lot of people involved that way. And it's that, you know, I think it's listening and really being connected to people that understand how to move things forward. And in her role, the real talent is in so many constraints, stakeholders, a lot of efforts moving in different directions. But to get things done, everybody's listed it all. I won't list it out all again. But to get things done is an exceptional talent. But you know, overall, I think just the humor you've done everything with. I think you know, we talked about the screenplay. There's a lot of content here, but really, after hearing a lot of comments, just kind of my message, and you know this, I think this is an exceptional school district, an exceptional board, and it can always be better. And I think that's what you brought to this, is continual improvement. It can always be better, and everybody's got to keep that mindset, but it doesn't mean tear it down. It doesn't mean let's remember that when we criticize and bring suggestions and comments. Learn that, kind of from you, from that first first call. So anyway, thank you. My family thanks you, and just thank you for the friendship and all the laughs.
Michael Perot. Thank you, Jennifer. You are an exceptional elected official. I've worked with elected officials for the past few decades, and you're among the best I've ever seen. You listen, you learn, you challenge, you question, you bring people together, and you keep doing it repeatedly over and over. I know I've been here many times about literacy, reading, dyslexic students, but all students, a third of the students who didn't read at basic grade level standards here in the Peninsula School District for so long, back to when I was there here and your brother-in-law was here, struggling to learn to read and getting pumped out into society, not reading where we should be because we weren't taught with basic scientific methods like phonics. And many elected officials for a long time here were sold a story, to use something a line you're aware of, and the administrator said they're getting what they need, we're doing our job, we're complying with the law, but kids kept not reading, and you kept challenging, you kept meeting with us, talking to us, asking questions, learning, and your legacy, in my opinion, will be the many people who will never know what you did, the leadership you provided to bring in science-based reading programs, that are phonics-based, not sit in a corner, cuddle up with a book, and look at pictures and hope you learn how to read, like many were doing here. And that's gonna lift all ships and all subject matters, science, math, and everything. Because if you can't read, it's a struggle. And as you know, up until third grade, you learn to read, but by fourth grade, you read to learn. And if you're not there at fourth grade, well, pardon me, but you're screwed. And what you've done is a huge legacy. You're an exceptional public official. My family owes you a debt of gratitude. Many people do. They'll never know, but thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Now we have to take action on our resolution, and then we're going to turn it over to you. Is there any discussion on the approval of the board resolution honoring Jennifer Butler? You have to sign it, yes. Is there a motion to approve the board appreciation resolution 2513?
I move to approve Resolution 2513.
And I second.
It has been moved by Lori and seconded by Chuck. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried, and board resolution 2513 has been approved. It is now your show.
Oh, boy. Okay. Well, it's time, isn't it? Wow. Well, thank you all for the kind words, for the resolution. It really means a lot, and don't misinterpret all of my smiles for the heavy heart that lies inside, because I think you all know how much this does mean to me. Look at this, it's contagious. So anyway, so thank you all for being here tonight. See so many friends, new friends, old friends. Dr. Art Jarvis, oh boy, what a sight. So many hours we logged in rooms like this around this district and beyond. So just a few reflections as I close out my time here on the board. I have so much gratitude for the trust that you placed in me, for people who've guided me, and for the privilege of serving our schools. As many of you know, I was born into a family of educators. My grandparents, my mom, my aunts, my brother, everyone, literally everyone in my family except me has dedicated their careers to teaching. And public education wasn't just a job in my family. It was literally the foundation of our values. So because of this, this is what has shaped my lifelong admiration and deep affection for teachers. Their devotion, their professionalism, and the countless unseen ways they pour themselves into bettering the lives of children. I'm blaming you for this. I was all spunky and happy. All right. Also, as you probably know, because I talk about this almost as much as someone else on the board, I served in the U.S. Navy. And during my time, I witnessed extraordinary acts of teamwork, selflessness, and leadership. And as a young junior officer, it was powerful to witness so many people from such wildly different backgrounds coming together for a shared purpose, to commit to one another and to lock in on a mission. And I long believed that my Navy service was the most important mission I'd ever take on. And then I was elected to the school board. So I carry this cup around, and I try to turn it out, whereas a lot of times turn it in, because it has my favorite quote. And I got this from our trip to St. Vrain to the see one of the Innovative Schools Conference. And it says, "Out of the public school grows the greatness of a nation." And these past 4 years have really proved how true that is to me. I can now say that supporting the mission of public education in this district has been the most consequential work I've been a part of. And to everyone in this room who has dedicated their lives to this mission, thank you. Thank you for your service and for allowing me to serve alongside you. All right, so at the risk of getting a little too worked up, it's a little late for that. I truly do believe that our public schools are our nation's greatest expression of our democratic ideals. They're an enduring promise that every child, no matter who they are, where they come from, is capable of learning and deserving of opportunity. It's a promise upheld every day by people working in this district. Bus drivers greet the dawn and ensure students arrive to school safely. Custodians and maintenance teams work late into the night to keep our buildings warm and welcoming. Tech support keeps IT running around the clock. And counselors, specialists, coaches, librarians, nurses, health techs, paraeducators, OT, PT, speech therapists, countless others who work tirelessly to support the whole child, mind, body, and spirit. And of course, our teachers. They're the beating heart of our schools. They lift up students whose learning and their success is the purpose behind everything they do. Anyway, so I see the results of this every day, of our district's commitment. I see it in my own children. They're thriving in our schools, and this is because of the collective efforts of so many. They are daily reminders of how powerfully schools impact the lives of children, families, and our greater community. At the same time, I'm not naive, and none of us, I don't think any of us are. Public schools across the country are facing tremendous headwinds right now, political, economic, and cultural, in its time of great uncertainty. But uncertainty is not to be feared. As my favorite football coach, Ted Lasso, often said, it's time to be curious. Curiosity is the counter to uncertainty and my favorite element of our strategic plan. Curiosity calls us to stay open-minded, to keep learning, and to evolve. Curiosity is confident, kind, and fundamentally optimistic. When we lead with curiosity, we remain open to critique without defensiveness, and we find opportunity in challenges. And this is where we will create the new learning experiences that are worthy of our students. I am confident that even in uncertainty, Peninsula School District is ready to meet this moment, and we are guided by some of the most dedicated, professional, and curious leaders in the state. And I encourage everyone in our community to get curious about what goes on inside our schools. Volunteer in a classroom, see a play, join the PTA, the VPO, Booster Club, support this Peninsula Schools Education Foundation, go to a game, become a mentor through communities and schools, lend your voice to stand up for Peninsula Schools. There are so many ways to support our students, and no people are more deserving of our time, our energy, and our talents than our children. And although my heart is heavy as I step away from the board, I do so with gratitude and the confidence that those around me will continue to guide our district and inspire our students. It has been an honor and a privilege to serve on this board. Thank you all so much.
All right, we're gonna get a picture. We're gonna look terrible. welcome to the dais. Take your seat. We're going to go just a little bit out of order. We have one more celebration this evening, and I would like to pass it to Creston Barrow if you want to make an announcement, an exciting announcement.
I would, and I know that we have some young families. So Matt, you have a young family as well. I would like to introduce and have our new principal of Minter Creek come up. And would you like to bring your family real briefly? All right. Nate, would you like to say a few words, please? And welcome. Thank you. There's been a lot of cookies, I'm sure.
Thank you, Creston. Thank you, board, and all our leadership. I am beyond honored, and I'm going to cry now, too. And so excited to be officially, permanently, as Matt said, I think, the principal at Minter Creek. It's been such an amazing fall, learning that community and being welcomed into that community. And I am so excited to continue all the work that we talked about last month at our Focus on Education Week and innovation and implementing our new curriculum, but really just being part of that community. And as you heard Jennifer talk about, and Creston, it reminded me of your start of the year address too, how foundational this work is to the importance of our community, of our country, of our world. And I am, again, sometimes we know it's challenging work, it's ultimately important work, and it is ultimately such rewarding work to get to do that. And so I feel just very privileged to be entrusted with that leadership role at Minter Creek, and I will also faithfully discharge it to the best of my abilities. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. And I would like to introduce my own family, my wife Julia. Thank you so much for all of the support work that you do to enable me to do this work to help our Minter community, and my own second grader Frankie, and my kindergartner Jack, who helped to inspire me to start wondering a couple of years ago, as I was used to more middle school, as Natalie can attest, to think about and imagine and express the curiosity and what is it like with that younger age of education, and getting to experience that with my own kids at the same time that I get to help other second grade and kindergarten students as well along their own educational journeys is such amazingly rich, rewarding work, and remembering all those faces and all that they accomplish from those ages up through our high school leaders and seeing what they grow into and become. It's just fantastic to get to be a part of that process. So thank you again for the opportunity to do so. Thanks.
We're going to take a group photo here in just a second, but I want to take a moment to welcome you, Matt, and congratulate David on your reelection. There's just a couple things I want to say, and I'll make it quick because I know we have a long night still ahead of us. But even during really personally challenging season, I want to say how admirable it was for you to continue your focus on the kids and step up to do this work again. I think that your steadfast mission-focused drive is truly admirable and something that the community obviously values as well. And to Matt, officially welcome. I want to give you an opportunity to introduce your family who's here in just a moment. But we had a chance to spend some time together with Matt at the WASDA conference, and it was very quickly apparent that this is going to be an amazing team. And like others have pointed out, change sometimes is really good, and we're very, very excited about the perspective that you bring and the enthusiasm you bring and the skill set that I know that you're going to contribute to this. I do want to take just one moment to also point out this campaign season. I am so incredibly proud of the people who stood up to run for this office. Like Creston said, we do it for the money, obviously, but for people who really care about kids and care about schools. Jonathan, I'm going to call you out if you don't mind. Both races were run exceptionally well, always focused on kids, so kind, with such high respect for each other and integrity. There are clearly more than 5 opportunities to serve this community, and I want to thank you for stepping up to continue to work in schools, taking on a role hopefully in SUP. Emily Ducharme also as well. Thank you for your work with the board and your continued commitment, and to all four of you for running really such an admirable race that serves as a fine example to our kids about what it should look like. So, Matt, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you introduce your family, and then we'll grab a picture.
There we go. Well, thank you, Natalie. My family is the one that's dying to get out of here because they're 4 minutes from bedtime and they still haven't had their dinner yet. So I'm the last thing standing between them and pizza, as you've heard from my second grader. So I want to thank my wife, Heather, who's here, and then my son, Theo, and daughter, Skylar, who allowed me to take a lot of time out of my summer and change some of our plans to make sure that I was able to go to all of these events, because when I set out to do this, I wanted to show my kids that if you want to complain about something, you better be willing to do something about it. So being able to serve the community and make sure that all students are given a fair shot in our schools is super important to us. So really appreciate everybody's support throughout it, and excited for the next 4 years, and excited to let my kids go get some pizza. Party at Maud if anybody's dipping out.
Great. All right, so I think we're going to take a picture real quick for student reps. Let's make it official. Okay, December, we have a lot of work to do in our meeting. So the next item on the agenda is call for nominations for board president to serve during the upcoming year. So it's recommended that the board of directors make a nomination for president to serve during the ensuing year with an election by a roll call vote. Is there any discussion prior to a nomination and vote? Okay, I'll now call for nominations to elect a board director as board president for the ensuing year.
I'd like to nominate Natalie Wimberly for board president.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I will second that.
Okay. It's been moved by David and seconded by Lori to nominate Natalie Wimberly for board president for the 2026. And we'll take a roll call vote for this. That means I will call each of you by name, and you, if you are in favor, you say aye. If you're opposed, you say nay. Jennifer, Jenny, do I have to call out more than once for nominations? No,
What,
just,
okay,
okay.
about 3 times. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, Director West,
Aye.
Director Brune,
Aye.
Director Olson,
Aye.
Director Glover. And Director Wimberly is, I'm outnumbered anyway, so, great. The motion is carried, and Peninsula School District Board President for the next year will be, I will continue in that role. Thank you very much. I appreciate your support. I'll now call for nominations for Board Vice President to serve during the upcoming year, with also in a roll call vote. So it's recommended that the Board of Directors make a nomination for Vice President to serve during the ensuing year with election by a roll call vote. Is there any discussion prior to the nomination and vote? I now call for nominations to elect a Board Director as Board Vice President for the ensuing year. Is there a motion to elect a Board Vice President?
I move to nominate David Olson for board vice president.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve David Olson as Board Vice President?
I'll second that.
Whoops, I think I did that. We have a nomination And a second, that works, okay. Sorry. Okay, it has been moved by Lori and seconded by Chuck to nominate David Olson as Vice President of the Board for the upcoming year. I will call for a roll call vote. If you're in favor, say aye. Opposed, say nay. Director West?
Aye.
Director Brune?
Aye.
Director Olson?
Aye.
Director Glover?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. The motion is carried, and David Olson will serve as Vice President for the ensuing year. Congratulations. Item 3.7 is Peninsula School District WASDA Legislative Representatives. As a reminder, the Washington State School Directors Association, WASDA, legislative representatives are appointed to serve a 2-year term. So our current representatives are David Olson and myself. We were elected during the board meeting in December of 2024, so we will continue to represent the district in legislative matters and serve out the remainder of our current 2-year commitment. We will now roll on to our reports from the students. So I'm going to let you go in whichever order you prefer.
Working? Perfect. Okay. Hello, school board and guests. Lauren here, and here's all the news of what CTP has been doing. First, to start off our news is our Christmas shopping. We went to Kitsap Mall and looked for gifts for our families. It was a day filled with fun and holiday spirit. We had our Friendsgiving Day with the University Place CTP, and it was a lot of fun. We will meet them again soon for a cookie exchange. We had the Secret Santa shopping happening this week, and we're shopping at the dollar store. In the same fun, we're having a gift exchange this week at our social club at Penn Met. Our foyer is decorated for the holidays. We removed our scarecrows, and it's now a Christmas tree. We all made handprints to make the tree and an elf that's placed under it. And lastly, for a fun Friday, we went to Helping Hearts Christmas Tree Farm to learn about how the trees grow and where the money is donated. They treated us with hot chocolate and candy canes, and the students made a wish from the wishing well. We also learned that the farm is part of the Make-A-Wish Foundation for the hospitals that take care of kids that have cancer. That is all the news for today. I wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Latendris, and I'm the senior representative from Gig Harbor High School. So in the past few weeks, just for some general school news, so Gig Harbor High School had both their gratitude and mental health awareness weeks, and those had different activities to kind of help our students feel a lot of belonging at our school and to promote good well-being as a whole, especially going into the winter. Things get busy and everyone's schedules get packed, so it was nice to take some time to just remember to, I guess, find your inner well-being. And then along with that, we just completed our Tide Fest this past weekend. So this is a huge event for our school. We had so many tickets sold this year. We had over 100 student volunteers, over 110 local vendors selling merchandise, and almost all of our different student clubs and sports participated in some way in this event. So it was super amazing to see our Gig Harbor community turn out and have such an amazing time this past weekend. And then coming up, so right before Christmas break, we also have our Hug a Door celebration. So those are in our Tides times where we decorate doors for the holidays. And then all of those doors get to be judged on December 18th, right as we go into winter break. And then speaking of winter break, our last day of school is December 19th, and we are encouraging all of our students to finish strong with a lot of final tests and assessments in their classes coming up in these next few days. So today, later, we're going to hear from all of our fall sports, so we're going to let them share more about their seasons and the amazing ends to them. But we did want to say congrats to all of our athletes because you all did so amazing this past year. In terms of fall sports, we did want to give a shout out to Layla Carlson, Sage Sturrock, Peyton Heim, and Jill Cartmain on winning the Tacoma Athletic Commission Athlete of the Year in their respective sports, which is a huge honor, and we were so excited to honor them. And that actually just happened earlier today. And then along with that, our winter sports have started. So those began right after the conclusion of our fall sports, and they're off to a great start. So coming up this week, boys basketball has a game that started 5 minutes ago. It is in the Gig Harbor High School gym if anyone would like to go after this to go cheer on our boys. And then they also have another game coming up on Thursday at Lakes High School. Our girls basketball team, they had a game last night against Capital where they won 72-37, and they have another home game coming up on Thursday against Lakes. Boys swim and dive also started with a meet coming up on Thursday at Capital High School, and then wrestling will be competing at Lincoln tomorrow, so good luck to all of our athletes for those sports. Gig Harbor High School girls bowling had a competition last night against Lincoln, and lastly, our girls flag football travels to North Thurston to compete on Thursday. So good luck to all of our athletes. You've all started off the season so well, and we can't wait to cheer you on throughout the rest of the year.
Hello, I am Sophia Fenn, and I'm your Gig Harbor Junior representative. So for our feeder schools, for Voyager Elementary School, students have filled their tub with sales slips, which are their reward recognition system, and they'll be voting on a school-wide reward before break. And they also, in case you're interested, had their first official taste test last week, broccoli. The reviews were mixed. Yes, this week they'll have their traditional marketplace, 5th grade fundraiser for camp from 9:15 to 11:30, and all are welcome. So if you're interested, feel free to go. And then next Tuesday is their holiday performance at 5:30, and it will be quick, and their holiday sing-along on Friday at 9:10. So those are some fun holiday things if you would like to. For Kopachuck, their wrestling has been great this year. Around 41 wrestlers turned out this year, and their team is currently 3-2 with the final match on Tuesday and the tournament on Friday. It has been great to see the growth from the team, as many of the wrestlers are new to the sport. Band and choir concerts have sounded great. Both will be performing in the community next week. They had a lot of very successful food drive for the Basket Brigade. They had a competition for which grade to bring the most food, and the kids really locked in, quoted the principal. And then 6th grade won by donating the most yams, so good job 6th grade. And then Harbor Heights Elementary, they kicked off their sharing and caring food and toy drive. Donations from now until December 18th. And then there's a music specialist production, the Snoozy Snowflake, December 16th at 6 p.m. So if you want to see the Snoozy Snowflake, go ahead. And for clubs, I would like to give a special thank you for all the clubs who recently helped participate in Tides Fest. You guys all made it happen, so thank you so much for all of our clubs. Now let's dive into the clubs. For newspaper, we have a lot about newspaper. This year, unfortunately, our newspaper class has been discontinued. However, we're still trying to keep it alive with the newspaper club. It has been a little difficult getting it back on its feet, but they're starting to produce material, and we can't wait to see where this club takes our young journalists. The club would like to ask for support. As they start creating their professional pieces, you can support them by checking out their website, The Sound, or considering downloading their new app. Topics that they're going to cover this year are news, arts, opinions, sports, etc. They want to highlight student, staff, and the community. This club is aiming to connect, uplift, and inspire Gig Harbor, so check them out if you can and if you have the chance. And then our Interact Club, our bigger community service club, has continued to serve our community a lot this season with big events like the Turkey Trot and Tides Fest, but also they've been helping tutor at our local middle schools as well. They're continuing to help with the Tacoma Rescue Mission, and if your family is interested, Tacoma Rescue Mission is taking toy drive donations to give to the community, and you can donate to the Tacoma Rescue Mission Family Center. There is an Amazon wish list link if you choose to do so. And then our DECA Club has their area competition coming up, which is their qualifying competition for state. Wish them luck. And their overall members in this club have increased this year as well, so that is great to see. And then our FCA Club has been meeting every other Wednesday before school, and they have been having consistent attendance as well, and they have been able to use this time to learn about the word and connect with others with similar values. And then I forgot to mention, but a while back in September, this club organized the See You at the Pole event, and more than 100 students came to participate. So it's really cool to see how that club is doing.
Can I ask you a question? Did you tell us what the website is of the journalists?
The website for the journalists is called The Sound, so just The Sound, and then the app, I'm not sure yet. I can.
Sound.com?
It's just thesound.com. Okay. Yes.
Hi, my name is Kate, and I am the senior rep for Peninsula. Just to give some updates on what's going on at Peninsula, back in October, we had our first annual Spooktacular, which was an event where we had clubs and sports come and do games, and they had candy for all younger kids. All of our feeder schools, so our elementary schools, could come and kids in the community, and it was really fun. It was super successful, and we're really excited to continue this throughout the years. But it was really well for our first time doing it. We also just wrapped up our fall sports seasons, and most of our athletics made it to postseason, which was really exciting. And all of them had a great season, so that was great. We also just had our Veterans Day Assembly, which we raised money for Honor Flight, and then the money is donated to Fly Vets to see war memorials. And we also had a guest speaker who had done Honor Flight before, so it was a really cool connection for kids to get to hear from someone who's actually done it. And we also had students write notes to veterans throughout the week that they received. So our leadership students participated with Gig Harbor Leadership for an Involve event back in November, which was, we had a guest speaker come, and it was an entire day where we got to grow school leadership from clubs and sports, and it was just to help make activities more inclusive and more spirited. And I think I learned a lot at the event, and it was really fun and super engaging. So we also had our fall play, Hamlet, in November, which we had another really successful play this year, and I'm really excited to see what they're going to do in the spring with their musical. And then we did have Winterfest 2 weeks ago, which was also another really successful year, and we had so many student volunteers, so it was really cool to see all of the people participating for every club and sport, and I think that makes such a big difference in how successful it is. And then lastly, our leadership received an award from AWSP and AWSL, which it's the Culture Kickoff Award, and we are one of 30 schools in Washington to receive it. And then it just reflects deep commitment from our school and demonstrates purpose and community. And it was just a really cool award that we received, and it was presented to all of our ASB and Unified students. So, yeah.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Kano. I'm the junior representative here at Peninsula High School, and I'm in charge of all the feeder schools, so I'll be updating you on those. First, let's start at Vaughn Elementary. Back in November, they organized a Veterans Day tribute for Veterans Day, all organized by their music teacher and their music program. And also last week, they had their Students Awards assembly to recognize and celebrate students with a lot of prizes like pizza parties and pajamas and stuff like that to give to the students. Next, on to Minter. Minter just wrapped up in the month of November, the readathon event, where students were encouraged to, based on grade levels, read average of 10, 20, 30 minutes each day for the whole month of November, which also in turn resulted in a bunch of prizes and even pizza with the principal, which that's always fun. They have two upcoming events to end out this year of 2025. On December 12th, on Friday, they have to 6 to 8 p.m. in their parking lot. Santa is going to come in the KP fire truck, and there'll be candy, snacks, etc., pictures with Santa that they're selling to help raise money for the 5th grade class. Next week, on December 16th and December 17th, from 3:30 to 5:30, they will be having a hot cocoa and crafts in their gym where anyone is welcome to come drink hot cocoa and make crafts. Next, Purdy Elementary. On December 1st, Purdy held their monthly character trait assembly, which they focused on gratitude, where they recognized students for showing gratitude in the month of November. Next, they have their annual toy drive is actually going on currently and ends this week on the 11th, and all those proceeds will be going to Fish Food Bank. Next, for the elementary schools, or lastly for the elementary schools, is Swiftwater. This Friday, the 2nd grade is hosting their school-wide Sharing and Caring Assembly. And then on Wednesday, tomorrow, the Student Council is wrapping up their food drive as well for Fish Food Bank and food backpacks for kids. And they also, back in November, they had a Veterans Day Assembly and an evening performance as well from the 1st and 3rd graders and to tribute to the veterans. Next, we have middle schools. So I'm going to start with Key Peninsula Middle School. They had an amazing student recognition spirit assembly. They recognized over 150 students for their contributions and achievements in the school. The wrestling season has been amazing, and They wrap up the season with a district tournament here on Friday at 5 p.m. at Gig Harbor. And along with that, their KPMS choir will be spreading holiday cheer at the Mustard Seed Senior Center on December 10th to just lift the spirits of all the senior citizens in our community. And lastly, for Key Peninsula Middle School, they have their PTSA-sponsored Cougar Movie Night this Friday at 3 p.m. if anyone wants to attend. Lastly, HRMS, Harbor Ridge Middle School. There's a lot of great things happening in Harbor Ridge. This Friday will be their second PEP assembly of the year, and students are looking forward to that, obviously. Why not? And their clubs are off to a strong start. This fall, they launched Homework Club, which meets every Tuesday and Thursday to help students get extra support on work, assignments, tests, etc., along with being a safe space for them to come in and interact with their peers and teachers in a classroom setting. And lastly, for Harbor Ridge Middle School, in January, their drama students will present a daytime performance on the 24th to highlight what they've been learning this semester. Families will be invited to attend. So actually, everyone's invited to attend if you want to attend that. And that's all the feeder schools.
Good evening. I'm Olivia, the senior rep for Henderson Bay, and this month we've had a strong focus on service opportunities. One of our most recent activities is our toy and teen shopping drive. This Thursday, students from our school will go out and shop for kids their own age, choosing items they feel those students might need. Everything is purchased and donated to the Fish Food Bank. We did this project last year and there was a lot of interest and enthusiasm. We're hoping for the same level of excitement, if not more, this year. We are also beginning to plan our annual Guatemala trip. I'm personally interested in going, so that's something I'm really excited about. During this trip, students fly down to Guatemala over spring break and participate in service projects in local communities. It's a meaningful experience where students get to try new foods, see new cultures, and take part in hands-on service. Earlier today, we held our annual Interact Club holiday luncheon. Members of the Midday Rotary visited our school, and they also sponsored our lunch. It was a pasta bar for the whole school. Students from Henderson Bay gave a presentation about ways that Rotary can help support the school. It was a great experience, and we were able to raise $800 during this event. As well, it was amazing to be around so many generous people who help our community in meaningful ways. Looking ahead, we have a pop-up shop planned for January 12th. This event collects clothing donations from the community and students, and then we open a free shop at the school where students can pick out clothes at no cost. It's a meaningful way to make sure students have access to what they need. We also have a blood drive planned for February 11th. Before the event, a representative from the Livestream Blood Bank will come to our school and give a presentation about the importance of donating blood. This is one of our school's favorite service projects. Last year, the drive happened during Halloween, and this year it will be just before Valentine's Day. It's a great way to mark both of those holidays, and that's it.
Any questions for our students? There's a lot going on. December is a busy month for kids, so I highly encourage any one of you to attend one of the concerts or productions or movies. They're so fun. Thank you, guys. Well done. Of course.
I just want to say that you were such a great group to bring to WASDA. It seems like a long time ago before Thanksgiving, but you represented us well and you were really fun to be there and your student voice was just invaluable. So thank you for attending and thank you for just being the great representatives that you are.
Okay, we are going to roll on to public comments on our agenda action items. These are people who have signed up to speak on something we're taking action on this evening. I have 3 people signed up. When I call your name, please come to the podium. You'll see the timer here. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. And if you are unable to complete 3 minutes, that's fine. We will stop you, but you'll be able to email us your comments. First up is Jackie Pinkerton.
Wait for the ticker, or do you want me to just go? Okay. Jackie Pinkerton, parent and community partner, hopefully the school district. I've got a child at Discovery Elementary and keep showing up because I care, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak to the board in this capacity, and also appreciate the opportunity in the, they're not lunch and learns, but the other sessions that we do, where we can talk about the issues. So what I want to talk about today is going to be consent agenda item 7.05, but I'll get there in a second. I want to start with making a point of emphasizing where I'm coming from and looking to the district board and superintendent for leadership, and leadership meaning making hard decisions in the face of adversity, learning from when we make decisions that upon learning new information, we have the humility to maybe make different choices and decisions moving forward. And there's been a handful of instances over the last year where permission has been granted to groups or organizations who have missions, behaviors, and actions that are antithetical to the stated values and goals of the district. I spent way too much time reading district policies and the strategic plan, and hearing Jennifer outgoing and talking about every student every day, and trying to reconcile those values and those guiding principles with the choice to allow organizations who have stated missions that marginalize and characterize our LGBT community as immoral, or that they are going to be subject to eternal damnation because of the choices of their family or the parents. Specifically, I looked at the statement of faith for the Found Club that's looking to be approved today, and in their document that they submitted, they assert that they are welcome to all, they're inclusive to all, but in looking at the statement of faith for the Found Club as an organization, they explicitly call out marriage being between a biological male and female. It's a heterosexual marriage, and any other marriage is immoral. That is not a psychologically, socially, emotionally safe space for our children, and to introduce those values in these spaces that are supposed to be secular spaces, I feel is very dangerous and counterproductive to the stated values of the school district. And I don't want to make this about any one faith, because it's not about the faith or the religion, it's about the actions and the behaviors. And I really hope that the board will take an opportunity to get more information before making a decision, because there have been other examples. For example, approving Lexico Washington, my understanding is that when faced with new information, they were going to change their mind, they being the proverbial they, and then in the face of adversity kind of back down because they didn't want to make waves. And I keep saying they, but again, us collectively as a district. So I want to talk more about that later, not tonight, but I appreciate the time, and please be courageous.
Thank you. Next is Nicole Hicks.
Hi, do I just start? Yes. Okay. As a district parent, former educator, alum, and person of faith, I am concerned by the Blessing Group operating their Found Clubs in our schools. Under a limited open forum, the Blessing Group claims its Found Club adheres to Equal Access Act's legal criteria, but in actuality, it does not. By law, non-school persons may not direct, conduct, control, or regularly attend activities of student groups. Found Club is powered by the Blessing Group, their mission, supporting Found Clubs in public schools, and vision to empower students to share Jesus with everyone at their schools, in their homes, communities, and across the nation. A public charity established 2024 with lavish fundraisers and generous donorship, Blessing Group bases at Harborview Fellowship Church, and is directed by its 7-member corporate board, including its founder, creator, and local resident who started Found Club and ensuing Blessing Group over her upset with neighborhood children's excitement for their school's Pride Club, and Pierce County Republican Party State Committee woman Jenny Young, and until very recently, former Republican State House Representative and Wenhua Executive Director Jesse Young. Further, Blessing Group's club has documented ties in collaborating with other religious and political organizations, all of whom seemingly seek to undermine the separation of church and state by exerting power through Christian influence over our public education system. Under the guise of student-led groups, they direct students to start a club by signing up on their website, then assigned a trained blessing group mentor to walk alongside students to launch, grow, and sustain the club, while consistently providing materials, guidance, meeting input, hands-on encouragement, along with their Found Club in a Box, which directs everything you need to get started. Even tonight, Blessing Group seeks your approval for the Found Club as a listed major activity to have guest speakers at their student meetings, for you essentially to permit non-school persons to direct, conduct, control, and potentially regularly attend activities of the student group, thus bypassing the legal terms of the Equal Access Act, which explicitly states the opposite. It seems these are adults manipulating laws and policies designed to protect students' rights to religious groups in schools, using public school children and publicly funded resources to fulfill their much broader mission and vision. I urge you not to approve Found Club at Goodman and to rescind approval at other schools so you can investigate, verify, understand, and hold them and yourselves accountable to the full terms of our law. Protect our schools, please. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Sarah Garriott.
Good evening. My name is Sarah Garriott, and I'm a parent in this district. First, I wanted to thank Jennifer, even though she has left already, for her time and service on the board. I've always been impressed with her inquisitive mind, her penchant for asking relevant and insightful questions, and her genuine love and concern for the people in our community. My comments relative to the agenda this evening concern the adoption of the new verbiage for the oath of office in item 8.01. The legislature's addition of the words, quote, "and the laws of the state of Washington," end quote, in the oath is redundant at best. In October, I attended a school director forum in which PSD candidates were asked a simple question. If Washington state laws are in conflict with federal laws, which will you uphold? I was dismayed that all 4 of the candidates answered state law. The why seemed to be because they only get a small amount of funding from the federal sources, and most of the funding comes from the state. So the answer was money, not what is constitutional. I would like to point out something all directors should be aware of if they are going to make an oath to uphold the U.S. Constitution and be loyal to that oath. Article 6, Clause 2 of the United States Constitution is what is known as the Supremacy Clause. The U.S. Constitution's Supremacy Clause is the foundational rule that makes the United States a single nation under one supreme body of federal law rather than a loose collection of independent states. It states, quote, "This Constitution and the laws of the United States which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution of laws or of any state to the contrary notwithstanding," end quote. In other words, although I am not an attorney, it's my understanding that every one of the directors who were at that forum and sit on the dais tonight should know that the only legal answer to the question was and is federal laws. Furthermore, the 2025 legislature made this oath change in HB 1296, the same law that gutted parents' rights this year. As many of you are aware, there is currently an initiative to the people of the legislature that will undo all the radical changes made by HB 1296 and put the law back as the people created it. The original parents' rights law was already ruled to be constitutional by a King County Superior Court judge in January of 2025. HB 1296 is currently under legal duress as several constitutional, uncompromising school directors in the state are suing the state over these unconstitutional changes, including the change to the oath of office. I urge you not to adopt the new oath pending legal outcomes. Very respectfully, thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Okay. That concludes our public comment on action items. We're going to roll into item 6 this evening. This is our recognition, our reports and presentations. So finally, students, item 6.1, our fall sports recap. So please come to the podium and make your presentation.
Who talked about the sound, the journal? Oh, is it sound.com? The sound.
Good evening. I'm Brittany Shelton. I am the Athletics and Activities Specialist for Peninsula School District. I have the privilege of working very closely with our Student Athlete Leadership Council, or we like to call them SALC. This morning, I met with these incredible student leaders to prepare for tonight's presentation that Wendy put together for us, and I'm continually impressed by their dedication and their growth. SALC represents the heart of what makes our athletics and activities programs special. Students who are committed not just to their own sports, but to building a culture of leadership, inclusion, and excellence across our programs and our schools. These kids are truly my favorite part of this job. I'm excited for you guys to hear directly from them about the amazing things happening in Peninsula athletics and activities. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our SALC representatives.
You got the clicker? All right. Hello, everyone. Again, I'll do another introduction, but my name is Kai Noah. I'm a junior at Peninsula High School. I'm a student athlete. I play football, baseball, and unified basketball.
I'm Kiara Gallegos. I'm a sophomore at Peninsula High School, and I do swim and dive.
So I'm going to do a little introduction. Brittany kind of highlighted it a little bit, but SALC, my peers here, we're gonna do the fall sports recap. We'll get to that, but we're also missing a lot of members out playing games. They're actually playing right now, Peninsula and boys and Gig Harbor basketball. But the main goal of SALC is we come together and we want to focus on taking, I guess, the athlete away and kind of focusing on how to make sports and athletics at Peninsula and Gig Harbor in the district better. Not just for us, but along with the whole league that we're in. We'll highlight it later on in the slideshow, but we want to make a change, and especially regarding the past few years, the athletics have not been great when it comes to relationships, and we've worked to fix that, and we're still working, and I really am proud of what we've done so far, and I think we're going in the right direction. So I'll hand it off to the rest of my peers to get going with the.
Hi, my name is Ann Loudon. I'm a junior at Gig Harbor High School, and I play soccer. Okay, so for scholastic achievements for Peninsula, all of the fall sports earned a WIAA Scholastic Award. Football, boys water polo, and girls cross country earned an award for a distinguished GPA, which falls in between a 3.0 and a 3.5. 5 teams earned an award for an outstanding GPA, which is in between a 3.5 and a 4.0. These teams included girls soccer, volleyball, boys cross country, boys tennis, and girls swim.
Hi, I'm Kelsey. I'm a junior at Gig Harbor. I play flag football and lacrosse. For our scholastic achievements at Gig Harbor, our football team earned a distinguished award, and the remainder of our sports, which include boys cross country, girls cross country, boys tennis, girls soccer, volleyball, boys water polo, and girls swim and dive, received outstanding GPAs.
1/3 of all of our high school students participated in fall sports, with the leading program at both schools being football, closely followed by girls soccer and volleyball. At Peninsula, the total number of students was 346 involved, and at Gig Harbor, it was 381.
We also had excellent participation in all of the middle schools. In total, for boys soccer, we had 126, girls cross country had 147, boys cross country had 143, volleyball with 126, boys wrestling had 142, and girls wrestling had 36.
Peninsula Volleyball went 5-12 and placed 4th in the league and participated in the Puget Sound League tournament. They came close but narrowly missed out on the West Central District tournament. Gig Harbor Volleyball went 10-6 and placed 2nd in their division. They also went through the West Central District tournament and qualified top 16 in state.
Our cross-country teams did very well as well. Our Peninsula girls team qualified for the West Central District with 4th place at league championships, and their boys team had 3rd place in league, 5th place at district, and placed 16th at state. At Gig Harbor, our boys team was 1st in league and districts, and then placed 6th in state, while our girls team was 1st in league and districts as well, and then placed 4th in state.
Both of our girls' soccer team qualified for state and competed hard throughout the season. Gig Harbor girls soccer went 17-1-3 and won the All-League and West Central District Championship. They also placed top 8 in state. Peninsula girls soccer also had a great run with 13-6-1 and placed second in the West Central District and made the top 16 in state.
Good evening, I'm Ava Hurley. I'm a senior at Gig Harbor, and today I'll be presenting the swimming for fall season. So Peninsula, they had a record of 7-1. They placed second at the league championship and third at districts and placed 9th overall at state. For Gig Harbor, we had a record of 10-1. We won the Puget Sound League and the districts. We also placed 7th at state, and notably, we had a record breaking by Caitlin Latendress for the 100 backstroke.
Hi, I'm Lucy Bartlett. I'm a sophomore at Gig Harbor High School, and for boys tennis this year, for Gig Harbor, their record was 7-4, and they placed third in their league. Peninsula's record being 1-9. For state qualifications, Gig Harbor qualified a doubles team, and Peninsula qualified as singles for the spring state finals.
For boys water polo this season, the Gig Harbor team placed third in Division I state, which is the highest they've placed in about 20 years, and Coach Alana Ponce was state coach of the year. Peninsula placed first in Division II state, and Coach Ben Douglas was the division coach of the year.
For football, Gig Harbor's record was 6-4, placing third in the Narrows division, also as well as fishbowl champions. Peninsula's record also being 6-4, placing second in the Nisqually division. Both teams got to advance to the round of 32.
Cheer this season got to support all of our fall sports with cheering them on with spirit and pride. They worked together to perform a halftime show at Fishbowl and are now entering their competition season.
So for our middle school sports, we had over 550 middle school students participating across all 4 schools. Sports offered included boys soccer, cross country, and girls volleyball. The strong participation highlights the strength of the middle school athletic programs and the commitment of the coaches to create an inclusive environment for all. Student athletes gained valuable skills, including balancing academics with athletics, time management, and a strong work ethic that will be benefiting them throughout their life. As well as the Skill Squad was introduced this year, allowing kids to get the reps they need, benefiting the growth of the program and the individual themselves.
My name is James Manili. I am a senior at Peninsula High School. Before I wanted to get started, I was going to just thank the board for letting me come up here and speak today, and thank everyone for coming, right? To get started on choir, earlier this year, Gig Harbor and KPMS Choir came together in a special joint concert. All while PHS Choir performed a concert in October. The choir is taking its first trip to Leavenworth on December 13th. Kind of makes me wish I was in choir. Next up for our speech and debate teams, both Gig Harbor and Peninsula competed in 3 tournaments so far. At Gig Harbor, we have 20 new freshmen that have joined the team. Pretty exciting, right? Recently, at the Tahoma tournament, senior captain Mars Burton and Gig Harbor competitor Autumn Couvert became co-champions in the Lincoln Douglas debate, capping an impressive run of accomplishments. Next up for drama. This past fall, PHS staged Hamlet, and it was a big success, showing poetic language and emotional depth, and overall just a great performance from our students. Continuing on, the Gig Harbor Drama Club concluded its production of The Play That Goes Wrong, leaving the audience with nothing but great reviews all around, and just another good effort from our students. Next from our band, the Tides Band has been busy this fall, performing at Roy Anderson on Friday nights in the main gym with guest directors and band students across the district, in the auditorium for a jazzy concert, and in the Commons for their yearly American is Apple Pie concert. The group has been working hard to prepare for their competition season and holiday concert appearances. Great work to all band participants this school year so far. Continuing on that note, the Peninsula Marching Band, a cross-district collaborative group including 4 Gig Harbor High School students, has had a stellar fall season. To start off, for the Sunset Festival of Bands, right, that was on October 11th. They came second place in the 2A division, They got awards for Best Drum Major, Best Percussion, and Most Improved. Next up for our Puget Sound Festival of Bands on October 25th. Yeah, they were first place in the 1A division, awards for Best Percussion, Best General Effect, and Best Music. Next up for the Auburn Veterans Day Parade on November 8th. They were first place in the 2A division, first place in the 2A division for Field Show, multiple awards including Best Percussion, Best Marching, Best Music, Best Color Guard, and Best Drum Major overall. Thank you.
This August for our Student Athlete Leadership Council, we held an athlete academy where almost 200 fall sport athletes attended, and in November they led the groups in the Puget Sound League Sportsmanship and Relationship Building one-day conference. All 12 league schools met to interact at this conference, and we continue to hold the goals of building relationships and creating action plans using leadership and good sportsmanship in our meetings every month. Yeah.
All right, I'm here to wrap it up. Next, we're going to talk about Unified. Unified at Peninsula, our winter sports season just started with basketball, winter guard, and cheer. And our fall sports, which were Unified Cornhole and Unified Esports. Esports is all year round, so anyone's welcome to participate in that. But early on in the fall, Peninsula was honored with being named a National Unified Banner School, which I believe there's only about 300 or so schools that with that honor around the whole nation, whether that be high school, middle school, the whole level. So that's super exciting. And we're actually in our Inclusion Week. We are celebrating this week with inclusion, where we have many spirit days to, I guess, support inclusion at our school. And on Friday, we have an awards ceremony where that award will be unveiled, and we hope to see all you guys there to support, and maybe some members from the community. Next, I don't have this one. To wrap up, we just want to say thank you for letting us speak here, and it's been a great fall, and there's been a lot of great achievements from both schools, and it's just been an amazing start to the year, so thank you guys so much.
And I'm Wendy Molich, the Director of Athletics and Activities, and I am amazed every day and every time I work with these kids. They've just done a fabulous job, and they come up with great ideas and collaborative efforts. We are going above and beyond what I ever thought this group would be. So I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to our report today. There are so many great things going on in the extra after-school world, and during the school day for that matter as well. So appreciate you all taking the time to listen to our report.
Thank you. Do we have questions from any board members? Yeah, do you mind staying for a few questions, comments?
Just have a comment. Thank you all so much for sharing. I appreciate your enthusiasm and just the fun you brought to the presentation. I just think it's noteworthy, and I want to commend you all on the GPAs of the student athletes are spectacular, and those stats are really, really great. So, and also just all the work that's gone into, we've talked about this many times this year, but it's very noticeable. I think if you attend a game, particularly rivalry games and those kinds of things, just the culture at both schools, you guys are working hard, and it's impressive the work that you've done together, and looking outside our district, I think, as well, at things that have worked in other areas. And so keep up the good work. I'm proud of you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else? I'm just going to echo that. I say every time, but I feel like we have new students every time, how proud we are of you. Mm-hmm. There's the adage, and I'm probably going to get it wrong, that you wear two names on your jersey and you represent both teams, the name in the front and the name in the back. And I think that for schools, Peninsula, Gig Harbor specifically, you represent your schools with such integrity and grace. And I've heard so many compliments from around adjoining districts and within our league that it's just different this year, and I think that's a testament to the work that you're doing. the names on the back of your shirts. Obviously, your families are so proud. It's just a joy to go out and see you compete and do it so well. So congratulations. Keep up the good work. I'll see you guys, probably many of you in the spring.
Okay. So I had the opportunity to see many of you at Wilson, or Silas, excuse me. I am old.
You and me
I
both,
apologize. Silas High School in Tacoma. I'd wonder if any of you could share just a little bit about what you learned there, or what your ahas were, or what you took away from that day.
Thank you. I wanted to come up here to like share the experience that I got to witness at Silas. To explain to you guys, it was a bunch of selected students from different sports. We all met up from a bunch of different schools. Many, I couldn't even tell you how many. We all met up at Silas, and we were split off into groups, and we were able to share and brainstorm ideas on how we can make the community better, sports better, and relationships. Like build relationships amongst the community, so it's not like just rivalries. Like that way, after the game, on the field, on the court, wherever you're at, you know, we're all friends. It's just competition, right? And I learned that even though like we're all very different, like at our own schools, and very like we look up to different people. Like in the end, like we just want to win. You know, we're all very competitive, and we all just enjoy sports. So that's all I can say.
All right, thank you. And you may, of course, go home if you need to. You do not have to stay for the rest of the meeting. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Nice job. Okay. We are going on to items 6.2 and 3. I'm just going to call them both out now because it's Ashley Murphy to give our monthly enrollment and budget update and our year-end financial statement.
Okay, obviously the most exciting part of tonight is what's going to occur right now, monthly budget status update. And then prior to jumping into this, I did just want to mention that our board is an all-volunteer board, and there is no money whatsoever associated with sitting at that dais. So they are not one of the boards that have elected to get their, you know, few dollars a day. So just to clarify, you know, no money, totally volunteers. So thank you. I know. I just wanted to clarify, especially because we're in the financial component, that there is no money being exchanged on that side. So, okay. We'll jump into revenues. Now, we are looking at this school year, so 25-26 school year. This is a report for the month ending October 31st, 2025. So this is sort of like our first snapshot of what's actually occurring for this current school year. Right now, we have collected approximately 18.8% of what our budgeted revenues were anticipated to be at this point. And so we are within 0.5% of where we anticipated to be. You can see that we're over a bit in local resources, so less than 1% over on that side. State resources, we're currently trending at about 0.5% under. And federal resources, you can see that that's significantly lower due to some of the delays on getting access to federal funds. Some of the packages aren't even available yet to claim against, and so we can't get the money if the package isn't available. So that should be trued up here by the end of the year. The vast majority of your federal collections anyways come at the tail end of a school year. Moving on to expenses. So this is the one that tracks with our green semicircle first. Okay. There you go. Okay, so this is not alarming, okay? That green semicircle is where we are trending based upon just financial analytics for ending fund balance. You can see it currently says 3.77%. You guys, it's not going to be 3.77% 7%. But ultimately, because of closing the books on last year, accruals in and out, timing of revenues, that's what the system reports as of right now. Now, you'll see in my next presentation, the year-end presentation, where our enrollment is over where we had budgeted. The state does the true-up in January, so we're going to continue collecting based upon budget until January, where we start collecting on actuals, and we're going to see a swing of our numbers at that point. But so just for the individuals that have seen this presentation before, you guys know that I really track the semicircle closely. So no, we are not actually going to be at 3.77%, but based upon data in the ends right now, that is what it says. Total expenditures, actual year to date, out the door, we're currently sitting at 16.3%. We had budgeted to be at 16.13% at this point, so you can see we're within 0.2% of that number, so that means we got a solid start to the school year. Salaries are within 0.1% of where we anticipated to be at this point, and our overall basic education costs, so dollars out the door for basic education, we're currently under by 1%. We're sitting on, at the start of the school year, we end up opening purchase orders for supplies across the entire school year. And as we get into the swing of the school year, you tend to spend less at this point and you spend more towards the middle of the year when your other supplies run out. So we'll see that start swinging more towards actual budget and closing that 1% gap. Okay, this is our trend. The dotted lines are 3 prior years. The last year, so last year's dotted line is the red line. Okay, so that's the line where you can see it dropped the lowest in June. And then our current year line is the blue line. So you can see that you're just picking up August, September, and October at that time frame. One of the things that I do want to note is October is at the lowest point than it has been for the last basically 4 years, with this October being included, right? We're not significantly off though, but we are lower, hence the importance and the rationale for the levy, needing the dollars in the door to ensure that we can continue within these trend lines as seen. So we will continue to track this, but ultimately, as of right now, I have no concerns based upon the budget created. The budget that we did create, you can see that green triangle over there on the right-hand side. That's where we budgeted to end the year as far as ending fund balance. And so you can see that we've budgeted to end the year quite a bit lower than the 3 prior years. And so as long as we hit that triangle, we'll be good to go. So that's what we're managing on a month-to-month basis. Enrollment figures, again, I put that information in our year-end presentation. So this is just a quick snapshot for the rest of the data for October. This is a more detailed chart that you can show, or you can go through and you can look and see where we were trending at this point last year versus where we're trending now. And as you do the line by line comparison, and this is actual year-to-date dollars out the door compared budget to budget, you can see that we're trending within a few percent of each of those line items from where we were last year. So there's nothing that is jumping out as problematic in regards to any of the spending or revenue trends at this point. Okay, that's what I have for monthly budget update. Questions, comments, anything? Okay. Okay, we'll just jump into everyone's favorite presentation. So our 24-25 the fiscal year-end presentation, it's at the state level, it's called an F-196. That's what the actual form package is called. So in our world, it's our F-196 year-end financials for all funds, so all 5 funds that the district has. Okay, we're gonna start by using the clicker, because I can use the clicker on this one. Okay, so we want to ground ourselves first in our strategic alignment in regards to our fiscal responsibility goal. So ultimately, when we are making decisions regarding staffing, spending, program alignment, we're always doing so with this in mind. And this is something that I regularly ask departments when they come forward with a request or they need to divert funds from one area to another, is how does it align to our fiscal responsibility goal? So is it going to efficiently and transparently align human, financial, and physical resources to support effective, innovative, and educational programs. So as long as we can ensure that we are keeping this in mind, then we know financially that the district is going to be whole and sound. Okay, so our 24-25 sort of recap what we're looking at. So general fund, the general fund is where all of our day-to-day operations for the district takes place. So this can include anything from curriculum instruction, like actual teachers in front of students and teaching, their instructional support, district-wide support and operations, so the cost of operating the business of running a school district, transportation, food services departments, maintenance, grounds, custodial, community use also falls under the general fund. What I will say with that is districts aren't any type of municipality. You're not supposed to profit off of like facility rental costs, okay? So when we say community use, that's what we're talking about is facility rentals. So although revenues for community use or facility rentals are in the general fund by law, they're all separately coded, so I can track revenues in and expenses out to ensure, one, that we're not profiting, but two, to ensure that the money that we are earning from those facility rentals are being reinvested back into the facilities that are incurring the expenses. This fund also covers everything athletics and extracurricular related. We know that levy is the 100% funding source for that. Levy dollars flow into the general fund and then are diverted to our programs to cover athletics and extracurriculars. This also covers administration for both school buildings and central office administration. So again, all day-to-day operations are flowing through general fund. When we get into some of the further slides, you'll hear some more of the information regarding some of the other funds that have more dedicated purposes. Again, general fund, if it has to do with teaching children or the administration of the business of a school district, it's hitting the general fund. So a piece that we need to look at and consider prior to even getting into the other components is the budget assumptions that were looked at when creating the plan for last year versus our year-end actuals. So enrollment is our biggest driver of funding, both in, well, technically in this district, in all three avenues: federal, local levy, because we are a per pupil district, and state apportionment. So enrollment is our budget driver. So we had budgeted to be at 8,616 student FTE, so full-time equivalent students. This is inclusive of Running Start, which we do know a good chunk of our Running Start students are partial FTEs. And it also includes open doors programs, which we don't necessarily receive the same type of funding source for those programs. But ultimately, all of that FTE is included in that number. Our actual FTE of where we landed was 8,646. So you can see conservative estimate, but we're still within that ballpark of where we had estimated to be. So in prior presentations, you've heard me talk about how we do our enrollment trending, and we are conservative, meaning we do a strict roll-up. You take your kindergartners, you move them into first grade all the way through the system to ensure that you are not going to overinflate your budget based upon enrollment. School districts right now have gotten themselves into a bind for this school year because they, in order to balance their budgets and ensure they weren't going into binding conditions, some of them inflated their enrollment numbers. And so now the state has realized that there's a bunch of money going out to school districts associated with basically what they're calling ghost students, students that don't actually exist in the public education sector. And so ultimately what the state has already done is they've pushed out the form package for revising your budget already. Like they already sent it to school districts like, hey, if you're currently receiving funding that you know we're going to take back in January, go ahead and revise your budget right now so we can just take it back right now. So obviously we're not in this issue, or we're not going to have that issue. We did a conservative roll-up budget for enrollment, and we were right there within the ballpark where we needed to be, plus a little bit extra. Okay. So I wanted to start today's presentation with a little bit different highlight, because a lot of what we're going to be talking about in the future slides is really guided based upon this slide right here, which comes back down to gaps in state funding. You may recognize this this slide because this is what we were presenting on last year during the legislative session, because these were the top 3 priorities during that legislative session, and we were trying to quantify all school districts across the state where the underfunding is coming into play when it comes to those 3 priorities: special education, material, supplies, and operating costs, otherwise known as MSOCs, and transportation. So you can see on the transportation side, so the far right column, we've been right there within the ballpark for the last 2 years. That's not happen chance. That is a lot of dedicated work by our transportation team to ensure efficiency in routing, to ensure that we are being very mindful of our inventory for transportation, and that we truly are aligning our revenues that we're bringing in to our expenses out the door. Now, you heard in my budget presentation back in August, we are no longer going to be able to keep that close of an alignment. We are budgeted to be approximately $700,000 over our state allocation. Now, in February, that is when the state trues up transportation allocations for the current year. So they do a true up in February. We'll see if that decreases our budgeted $700,000 shortfall at that point. I do think it will bridge the gap potentially by about $150,000. I do not think it will completely bridge the gap. But this district, over those few short years, has been underfunded in transportation by approximately $3.35 million. Then you look at your material, supplies, and operating costs. So these are the costs associated truly with overhead. It's getting kids consumables, supplies, curriculum, utilities, liability insurance. All of those pieces are considered materials, supplies, and operating costs. This district, over the course of these years shown, has been short paid on this by $55.8 million, and you can see the breakout by year. And you can also see that that divide is just growing. This is even with the one-time $50 per FTE student allocation we got last year that brought in just under $500,000 one time. So we put that to good use, and it's now gone, and we're still trending up. Special education. This district has been short paid for special education by approximately $21.5 million over the course of those years as shown. And you can see that that divide is also continuing to grow. I do think, and you're going to see later on in the presentation, there is going to be some legislative priority potentially given to special education. Are they going to be able to solve this issue this year? No. May they do something? Potentially. So that's left to be seen. So I want people to keep this chart in mind as we go through the rest of the presentation and you start seeing the ebbs and flows of revenues and expenses out the door. Okay, so this is high-level snapshot of all of our revenues in and the variances to budget. So what we're looking at first is our local taxes. Sorry, I can't read that far, so I have to look at my computer. Local taxes budgeted, we ended up falling just about $40,500 within budget. So that would be a reasonable variance. Now, reasons that there are variances for a local levy collection is local levy is paid through property taxes. When people pay property taxes, although they're due 2 time periods during the year, some individuals pay it early, some individuals pay it late, and you'll see those natural ebbs and flows on that variance that catch up year after year. Local non-support, so this could be anything from paying tuition for, let's say, we have some kids that are going to take some classes to advance their high school coursework during the summer, and so they're going to pay a fee for that. Fees for goods and services are also captured there. Donations, rentals, facility rentals, investment earnings, basically other revenue that's coming in that's not specifically from the state or federal government and is not part of property taxes. All of that gets grouped into local non-support. State apportionment, you can see we're approximately $112,000 over on that side. That would make sense based upon the fact that we're about 30 students over budget. State programs, you can see we're sitting at about $1.75 million over on that side. Now, with that being taken into consideration, last legislative session, they did a few things. One, it was the $50 per kid allocation. That's about $500,000. That's included in there. And a chunk of the rest was in regards to special education realignment and funding that we had received through that. It's not the entire bulk of that, but it is about $600,000 of it. The rest of it is the ebbs and flows of the rest of our state categorical programs. So legislatively, what had occurred with both the one-time funding and special education funding, it did bring in about $1.1 million of unbudgeted revenue. And then the rest was the smaller programs. Federal, you can see that we had budgeted to be at about $6.1 million, and we actually ended up being closer to $4.6 million. There was various rationale in regards to this decrease, but one of the biggest pieces of it is we had less students qualifying and taking free and reduced meals that the federal government then is paying, and our Evergreen, who was a CEP school, which drives in more federal funding, became a state House bill free meal program school, which drives in less funding. And so there were swaps on that side, and we ended up coming in lower than anticipated. Other revenues, this can be budgeted contingency revenues. It can be revenues from other districts. For example, McKinney-Vento transportation, if we have a student, a South Kitsap student that temporarily moves into this district, we work with South Kitsap to transport that student back into South Kitsap's district, and then they transport them home and will bill or swap services on that side. So that revenue hits in that area. Other financing sources, for this district primarily right now is our transfers from our capital projects fund for the safety, security, and technology levy. During budget presentations this summer, you heard me talk about the fact that even with our safety, security, and technology levy hitting our capital projects fund, I can only account for and code certain expenses to a capital projects fund, meaning they have to hit capitalization thresholds. And so if a laptop is $2,500, and even though we're buying, let's say, $2,000 of them individually, they don't hit a capitalization threshold, so I need to buy them and pay for them out of my general fund, and then I do a transfer from capital projects fund to general fund to basically repay that fund for those costs. And so that's where we're seeing that transfer come in. Okay, so a lot of what I just said is pinpointed right here with specific dollar values and explanations on each one of those line items, so you can see where our variances are and why they're coming in that manner. I'm not going to read it all out to you guys because I just summarized it, but there's more detail. Okay, now we're going to look at expenditures. This is expenditures by object code. These are the object codes that we report under, and so we have certificated salaries, classified salaries, employee benefits associated with both of those salary groups, supplies, otherwise known as our MSOCs, purchase services, travel, and capital outlay. So certificated salaries were within $433,000 of budget. Certificated salaries and purchase services, you normally see a correlated swing in those areas. As you can see down in purchase services, if we, let's say we have a need for an SLP, OT, PT on the special education side, and we post, and we have no one that wants to come to a public school district to work for public school district rates and be a psychologist, then we end up having to contract out because we're paying a service contract and they're not our employees. I can't code to certificated salaries. I have to code to purchase services, and so you'll see swings on that side because of it. Classified salaries, we were within $32,000 of where we anticipated to be via budget. Employee benefits, we saw a $1.1 million savings on that side. More info to come in the next slide in regards to that. Supplies, we were about $433,000 over. Purchase services, again, $2.1 million over. I have more explanations in the next slide. Travel, about $287,000, and this is not just people are going to conferences and traveling. We do have to follow IRS regulation regarding itinerant travel. So if I have a teacher split between 2 buildings, I need to be covering their travel costs. If we have administrators traveling amongst school district buildings, we have to pay their IRS mileage rate. Okay, and so we do it that way, or in specific situations with staff that we know regularly travel, we just give them a mileage stipend, and regardless of whether or not they're over or under, that's what they get. And then we have capital outlay. This was the area where we put in a budgetary capacity. So although you're seeing a $1.5 million savings, that was you have budgetary capacity so that you don't bust budget. Even if we're a penny over our budget, you're writing OSPI and asking for, you're saying, I'm sorry, and getting your little apology letter and your slap on the wrist for going over budget. So this is the area where we put in some budgetary capacity for revenues. So if we go out and secure a new state grant, I'm not back here at the podium asking you for permission to spend that grant. So when we get into more of the specifics in regards to our expenditure variances, so certificated salaries, base contracts were nearly $2.5 million under budget, tied to the ESA contracted support positions, which I talked about in the last slide. Supplemental stipend pay was approximately $450,000 over budget. That is due to timing. In our last bargain, we bargained to front pay one of the days that teachers were already getting paid for, but by front loading it, I needed to accrue back, okay? And so that's approximately nearly $500,000 for one day for certificated educators. Substitutes was approximately $675,000 over budget. You're gonna hear me talk about substitutes and legislative priorities here towards the end of the presentation. And extra time, timesheet pay was approximately $1 million over budget. Now, because of the savings of base salaries, it all netted to a much closer number, but that's the specifics in regards to where all the ebbs and flows were from. Classified salaries, our base contracts were nearly $1.4 million over budget, but if you look 2 bullets down, extra time, was $1.8 million under budget. We did some shifting of how we were doing staff time, and we added days to contracts versus having people who, let's say, they're an athletic secretary, and they were on a 203-day contract. Any days above 203, they'd have to timesheet for. So all that prep work during the summer to get started, get the school year started for, let's say, football, would be timesheet pay. That is cumbersome on the individual and doesn't provide any protected priorities as far as payroll, like, hey, am I going to get this from year to year? So instead, we tracked data and trends and then just moved that into their base salary so that there's not a need to timesheet for it in future years. So we had a swing on that side. Substitutes on the classified side were over by $492,000. Benefits were $1 million under. This is partially tied to unfilled positions. We call them ZZ opens. And so if you budget to fill a position within the budget and you don't fill it, let's say like with our ESAs, we're not paying their budgets when we contract out with a contracting agency. So it ends up being a budgetary surplus in that specific area that has then shifted to purchase services. There was also less timesheet pay overall for classified staff. So because of the School Employee Benefits Board, or SEB, which is where school district employees now get their benefits from, if we have staff that qualify for benefits, elect to not take benefits, or are timesheeting and they're going to hit that 630-hour threshold, which is what the state has deemed is benefit eligible, that amounts to quite a large dollar volume over time with individual timesheets, which then increases our overall budget, our overall benefit dollars out the door. So we're seeing savings on that side by switching from a timesheet option back into a base contract pay, because you don't have as many people over the course of the year qualifying for benefits simply by hitting 630 hours. Supplies were approximately $1.5 million over budget. The vast majority of that is actually tied to the way we have to account for our safety, security, and technology levy and the purchases of such. So purchases of, like, let's say a software license, I need to code to the general fund, and then I need to do the transfer. So it's still going to show up as an expense, but it's an expense that's netted by the transfer. Purchase services, again, Running Start. We saw a lot of students participating in Running Start, and our bills associated with that increased. It is very hard to budget for this year to year because ultimately it's based upon student and parent choice. And so ultimately we saw an increase of approximately $818,000 that went to local community colleges to pay for college level courses that our students were taking at those community colleges. Also, we also saw a good chunk of this for field trip and athletic registration and entrance fees that were over what we had originally budgeted to be at. Again, these are dollars that are coming from local levy, and we prioritize the dollars going directly to kids, and this is one way to do so. So based upon what the kids' needs were last year for field trips and registration for different events, we saw an increase of about $454,000 on that side. Okay. This is a snapshot of our actual to budget in each one of those areas, both revenues, expenditures, transfers in and out, our net increase, decrease to fund balance, and where we actually ended up being. So one of the things that Chris Bishop, my finance director, and I were going around and around on is that unassigned percent of expenditures. So you can see that budgetarily, we had a ending fund balance that was supposed to be approximately $10.5 million. But you can see a significant volume of that ending fund balance was expected to be restricted or assigned, meaning it's not simply unassigned. And so although you see a lower unassigned percent of expenditures, that's the way the board goal was written. And so I wanted to capitalize it in that way because I know we've had prior conversations regarding ending fund balance, board goal, percentages. So if we're going to look at it strictly from the way that the board goal was written, it would have meant that even with $10.5 million in the bank, it would have equated to a 1.84% ending fund balance. Now, where we actually ended up is approximately 6.09%, so right on that tail end of the high end. And it was broken down between 3.1 million that was actually restricted or assigned. And so this could be anything like state level carryover for, let's say, CTE, or federal carryover of Title II funds would also, this year is the last year with Title II, but that rolls into that number for this year. And so you're seeing those variances there. Are unassigned, and so truly not dedicated to any other purpose other than the general fund, is currently setting at $10.4 million. And so the variance is 4.25% from budget to actual. Now, one of the things that I will state is that regardless of the budget built, our team is really, really, really good at looking at all dollars in and all dollars out. So my goal is to never end obviously lower than what we have budgeted, but I'm always going to look at bringing more money in to bridge that gap, to increase, not to increase and keep a high ending fund balance, but to ensure that we have enough revenue for the startup of the next year when we know we're going to be receiving revenues based upon budget. Okay, so capital projects. Our capital projects fund, so this is used for acquisition and construction of major capital facilities. So ultimately, there's a few ways that this type of fund can get revenue. One of them is when a district passes a bond. Those bond funds then are transferred into your capital projects fund, and you build your schools, you do your major remodels, whatever it happens to be. Another one is if you run a capital levy. Our safety, security, and technology levy is a capital levy. It doesn't mean that you're doing necessarily capital improvements with all of that. Safety, security, and technology are all allowable capital project fund items for you to actually run a levy based upon. So our main revenue sources for this fund during 24-25 was our SS&T levy at just over $6 million. Impact fees, so fees that developers pay when they're building new developments within our boundary of responsibility. There are, you saw the capital facilities plan on the consent agenda, but basically there's a group of entities that work together to determine what that dollar value should be for a multifamily home versus a single family home, and then developers, when they're building, pay those fees to the school district to help offset what's considered unhoused students. And by unhoused students, we're not physically talking about the fact that they don't have a home. It comes down to square footage of your school buildings and how much student enrollment that building can actually take in. We also received approximately $725,000 worth of interest, and so that hits that fund. And then state funding assistance, SCAP, state match, whichever era you went through with that, it's all the same thing. So our state match, we received nearly the last chunk that we're going to be receiving off the 2019-20 bond initiative, and we received $1.7 million. Expenditures out the door are broken down into these categories. So sites, so we're talking dollars to truly build the schools, were just under $7 million. That was primarily KPMS and Kopachuk. And then you have $2.14 million towards the buildings. Equipment, so if you purchase any equipment to put into a new build, it's going to hit the equipment line item. And then our SS&T costs that were reimbursed and transferred between the capital projects fund and the general fund would also then pop as an expenditure. So this is a high-level overview of what that then looks like when you're looking at the numbers. Now, the intent of a capital projects fund is always to spend it down every year. The goal is not to sit on money within the capital projects fund, especially after you've passed a bond. There's a lot of rules regarding how fast you need to spend that money so that you do not get into an arbitrage compliance issue with the federal government. And so ultimately, we're always going to budget to spend down as much as possible. We may have some lofty goals, especially because we're not necessarily the ones out there building the building ourselves. But we were hoping to have an ending fund balance of approximately $6 million, just under $6 million. Actual, we're at 12.2. So not a horrible problem to have, right? But we want to continue pushing these monies into the buildings and spend it down. And then variance, we're looking at approximately $6.2 million because of that. Debt service fund. So this is where the payment of the bond hits. So ultimately, through property taxes, when a bond is passed, the community that passes the bond through supermajority, they're agreeing to pay the annual service payments for that bond, both principal and interest. And so this is just a chart that we've used over several years to, I'm sure you guys can probably guess where the bond hit. It's that 2021 year where it spikes up. Okay, and then you can see that split between principal and interest for each one of those years. Now you can see the natural step down that had occurred in 23-24, and then a minimal increase there in 24-25. Now we're going to see that sort of level out for here through the rest of the debt service payment time period. So debt service fund, the only thing that's coming into this fund is property taxes to pay our debt service payments. And so when you're looking at revenues, that is what it is. It's the tax collections. You also get interest because any of our funds that have balances, my business team, they do transfers over to the county treasurer to have it invested in the local government investment pool, LGIP. That's the only thing we can invest in. But they invest it for us. Based upon what we direct them to do. So we'll have interest. So we collected approximately $200,000 worth of interest. And then the only expenses out of this fund are principal and interest debt payments. and our annual transfer fees for the debt payments. We do not pay our debt payments ourselves. The county pays them for all local taxing districts. And so what they do is they charge us for paying them. That's just how it's set up to work within Washington State.
Are you absolutely required to use LGIP or can you use private financing advisor and financing investment?
No, Nope. So school districts absolutely cannot. The market is too volatile to tie up school district funding in a local market, even with a really great investment strategy. And the liquidity of our investments, we need to be able to access it basically on a turn of a dime. So ultimately for public school districts, we have to invest in the LGIP. Now, I will say that they're good about how they're investing our funds into index funds and such, so our return tends to be fairly decent, as you can see in some of the other slides as far as the hundreds of thousands of dollars that we're collecting in interest revenue between all of our funds. But yeah, that's our only option. Okay, ASB. So this is our only fund that is truly governed by children. So not all of our schools within this district have ASBs. So in order to have an ASB, they need a constitution. It needs to have come before the board. It needs to be approved. You have an ASB advisor. You have an ASB student body. In elementary schools, your principal is considered sort of the owner of the ASB or your ASB advisor. But in middle and high schools, you need to have your ASB student population. So you can see here that each of our high schools have an ASB, each of our 4 middle schools do, and then we have 2 current elementary schools that technically actually have an ASB. Regardless of how active the actual ASB is, they do have some ASB funding. So again, this is a budget created by kids, with the kids telling the adults what their plan is to bring in revenues and what their plans are to spend revenues. And so our kids, our students, told us that they were going to bring in approximately $2.3 million during the 24-25 school year. And they brought in approximately $1.3 million. And so that's just based upon what the student population did during that time frame. There's no problem with overestimating your revenues and having a variance like that, as long as you have fund balance to pay for it. And you can see that they do still have a lofty fund balance, so they're fine. Expenditures, they had budgeted to have approximately $2 million worth of expenditures. So they budgeted to add to fund balance. And you can see that they did end up adding to fund balance by approximately $200,000. It's just they spent less and brought in less. But ultimately, their total fund balance decreased minimally. So revenues, this includes anything like what you heard the students talking about earlier: Winterfest, Tidefest, yearbook sales, school dances, ticketing for sporting events, all of amongst a varied array of different items. Those are all the revenues. So basically, if it's directed by kids and the money hits one of these expenditure aspects, we call the acronym CARS. So cultural, athletic, recreational, or social, then that then becomes an allowable expenditure and they can spend it on such. Okay, Transportation Vehicle Fund. This is always an interesting fund to explain to people because they think Transportation Vehicle Fund or TVF and they think, oh, this is how much it's costing to run your transportation department. No, no. We just get depreciation revenues from the state, and that is what's hitting this fund. The only other 2 things that will regularly hit this fund are interest revenues, just like every other fund. And then in addition to that, if you surplus or scrap a yellow bus, doesn't matter, any other car, van, anything, doesn't matter, a yellow bus, if you scrap or surplus it, the revenue received from that hits this fund. You can't put it anywhere else. It can only hit this fund. And then this fund, you can only purchase yellow school buses. And so that is all we're seeing in this. The difference for Peninsula School District currently, so both last year and this year, is that Donette, the transportation director, was successful in securing a $250,000 federal grant that allowed us a $25,000, they're calling it a rebate. In all reality, they gave us $25,000 per propane bus purchased, and then we utilize that to offset the cost of the propane bus. So a propane bus, not shocking, it does not cost $25,000, but getting $250,000 in to offset the cost of buses that we are going to need to replace anyways helps extend the life of this fund. Okay, so this is my last slide. So one of the things that we like to do when we close a year is then look to the future, okay, and what can we expect and what are we going to be looking at? So our 25-26 enrollment, so this current school year, so we budgeted to be at 8,777 students, including Running Start, ALE, and Transition to Kindergarten. Our actual enrollment for November was 8,808 student FTE. This is including Running Start, ALE, and Transition to Kindergarten. So we are, for the second year in a row, approximately 30 FTE over budget. So not a huge swing, but enough. I will take our 31 additional FTE, and this is what the true up in January is going to be based upon. For 25-26 and future staff costs, one of the things that we're looking at is during the 24-25 school year, the district agreed to updating union contracts with our teachers union and as well our principals association. And the district does have open bargains with the following, or basically the union groups that you see there. So that's going to be work that we're going to be doing in the spring, into the summer, that then impacts the 26-27 school year. Legislative work, we're getting to that season. So we will be continuing to track legislative bills as they start populating. We're going to be tracking specific to impacts to Peninsula School District. Like, yes, we definitely want to keep an eye on Washington State school districts as a whole, but my main focus is, as bills drop, what is the financial impact, either positive or negative, to this district? Priorities are likely to continue to align to MSOC's, materials, supplies, and operating costs, special education, and WASBO. So I'm sitting on our WASBO, so our business official, like our state business official group, on their legislative committee. One of the things that we did this year is we wanted a lower level win for the state. It's like, hey, you're not going to be able to fully fund special education. You're not going to be able to fully fund MSOCs. Can you fund our substitutes? So ultimately, we are still being funded at a rate of $151 and change. I think it's like $151.78 for a full day substitute certificated educator. So 7.5 hours, $151. We went back over a decade to see when this rate was last updated. It was over a decade ago. So think about what costs were a decade ago versus now. School districts do not have sub rates in the $150 threshold anymore. That is an outdated practice. You cannot secure substitutes for $150 a day. So Peninsula School District, our sub rate, our regular sub rate is $200 a day. And we just instituted an increase for Mondays and Fridays to $250 a day, because that's when we find, in all reality, that we have the most absences. But in addition to that, those are also the days where your substitutes don't want to work. So we figured, hey, let's trial this, and let's see if we throw some more money on both the front and back end, if we can secure more substitutes willing to work those days when we have higher absences. So we're going to continue to track that. What we're asking the state for with substitutes is just cover the cost. They fund on the prototypical funding formula. So staff, certificated educators, they're not funding anything for classified. For certificated educators, that are prototypically staffed, so 338 individuals for our district, even though we have 580 certs. 338, they're giving us 4 days at $151 and change to cover the subs for those teachers for the entire year. By law, I'm required to give them more than 4 days of sick leave. So how in the world is that even at all tied to any type of equity-driven framework? It's not. So if by state law we are required to give more sick leave, shouldn't the state then at least pay for that level of support? So that's what we're pushing out through WASBO priorities on that side. We're also going to be tracking any potential impacts in January due to potential federal shutdowns, because with that budget proposal that they pushed forward, it was only to keep funding level through January 31st. And so that's what does it look like come January? And then what do our federal impacts look like through the Department of Education as we continue through the rest of this year, and they solidify which programs they're going to be funding in the 26-27 school year. Okay, questions?
My usual comment, I don't like the ending fund balance. It's way low, it's below what it should be. And you know that, and we've already had that discussion, but.
I will say it's matching board goal.
I'm one vote.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, it likely is, and we'll continue with, tracking our revenues and expenditures and see where things are coming in, and then we could have a future conversation about that. Okay? Perfect, thank you.
Okay. That concludes our recognitions and reports and presentations for the evening. So we are going to roll on to item 7, which is our consent agenda. Lengthy list of things to approve on that agenda. Is there a discussion?
I do have a request for more discussion on 7.05 and 7.31. They're the two new club proposals. I am wondering if we could have some clarification on what the board's role is in this and what the district requires.
Yes, so for that answer, I'm going to call up Chief of Schools, Julie Schultz-Bartlett. Thank you, Julie.
Hi, Julie Schultz-Bartlett, Chief of Schools. Happy to answer your question about club formation and the role of the board. So we're looking at specifically policy, let's see, this is non-curricular, 2153, which outlines non-curricular clubs. And there's a process that schools go through to identify a club for their school. Initially, students will come forward saying that they want to have a club, and then the principal will help them to find an advisor, or maybe they already have an advisor, and then they will need to create a charter or a constitution about how they're going to run and organize their club. Clubs need to stay managed by students. That's very clear in all of our policies around both curricular and non-curricular clubs. And then it comes forward to be approved by the board after it's been approved at the school that it's met all the obligations. And before they go on to the agenda for you, they come by us, and we also double check to make sure that they have met all of our board policies. We work with the principal to correct anything that might be a discrepancy, or that the kids didn't know, or they signed the wrong place. All clubs have to be run by a staff member, so they can't be run by an outside group. You have to have usually about 3 to 5 people in order to make a club, because you need to have, officers to vote, and then it comes to you for approval.
I will just say, well, just to clarify again, I think you said this, but I know I've looked at this every time we have club proposals, because they do need to be proposed by a student, correct?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and then run by the student, or
Yeah, they have to be proposed by the student. In middle school, sometimes it's teachers and students will talk about things the kids want because they're learning how the system works, but they're typically proposed by the student. They have to be run by the students. And then the adult that's present has to be a staff member who helps to facilitate that. So depending on the grade level, at high school, the students are pretty autonomous. At middle school, usually the teacher who facilitates will usually help them to create a template to fill out for their minutes, or help them to maybe edit if they're going to be doing a presentation about something. They'll help to facilitate that. And then they have to meet outside of instructional hours. And the students are the initiators as well as the facilitators.
Okay, thank you. I know that for myself, I have always read these and looked to make sure that those criteria are met, or that it's, because sometimes you can't read them, you know, the handwritten ones, and then now I appreciate getting the typed, or, you know, the ones where you can see who the administrator is, or the staff person and the student. But I will just say for myself, I have always looked at those things, and I have not considered it my role to discriminate the content of the club's activity. I have been only looking when we approve or don't approve for those things.
Yeah.
So, and I feel that these, in this case, do. So
Yeah.
if you have different opinion, I'd love to hear them.
Thank you, Julie.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any other discussion on any items on the consent agenda? Okay, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by David and seconded by Chuck to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion is carried and the consent agenda has been approved. Rolling on to item 8, these are our discussion and action items. I want to remind everyone that anytime we see a first reading of a policy, it is just for us to review, so we're not taking action on it. This is how we introduce a policy change, and then we will take action on it at the following meeting. So the first item, 8.1, is the first reading of policy 1111. This is the oath of office. Is there any discussion on the first read?
Yeah, I'd like to, since it's a first reading, I know we have time to talk about it, but in the legal reference, in the oath of office, I went back to RCW 28A343360, and this policy says that we are to support the Constitution of the United States and the state of Washington and the laws of the state of Washington, and to faithfully discharge. State RCW does not say that. State RCW 28A343360, which our policy references, says each of us elected, appointed, or appointed to the office of school director must take an oath or affirmation to support the Constitution of the United States and the state of Washington, and to faithfully discharge. The extra line is not in the RCW. The oath must then, so everything else is, but in the state's RCW, that line that we are then required to follow state law is not in the actual state RCW. So I would like to look into why it got added to our policy before I decide to vote on it.
So the policy about the upholding the state laws contradicts the actual state law.
What I want to know is if the state RCW, the law that we're being held to, doesn't have that in it, why is the policy included? I'm just curious.
Sure. Maybe, is that something we can get some more information on the WASDA? Yeah, it just came as a WASDA update. Okay. Okay, yeah, so let's, we don't take action on it until next time, but we can, if you
Yeah.
want more information, we'll look at the
Yeah,
WASDA.
we're supposed to have a ledge rep, WASDA ledge rep meeting was supposed to be today, to talk about this stuff. And again, unfortunately, Logan was sick and we postponed it to next week. So I'll make sure to discuss this as well.
Got it, okay. Okay, any other discussion on item 8.1, the oath of office? Okay, item 8.2, this is the first read of policy 2170. This is related to career and technical education. Any discussion on this policy? Okay, item 8.3 is the review of first read of policy 7321. This is being renumbered to policy 6220. If you'll remember, most school districts do not have a 7,000 series. We still kind of do, so we are in the process of moving those all back into the 6,000s. So this policy, 7321, is being renumbered to 6220. It's about purchasing, bids, and contract to bid or request for proposals. So If there's no further discussion, we'll roll on to item 8.4. This is an approval to retire policy 3423, suicide awareness and prevention. So the reason for retiring this is because it's been replaced by policy 2145, which has been renamed suicide awareness and prevention. So we already have that policy. This is just retirement of an older policy. So is there any discussion prior to, we are taking action on the retirement of this. Is there any discussion? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the retirement of policy 3420, suicide awareness and prevention?
3423.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved by Chuck, moved by Lori and seconded by Chuck to retire policy 3423. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried, and policy 3423, suicide awareness and prevention, has been approved. Item 8.5, this is another adoption of a resolution. I'm not going to read the whole thing tonight, just in the sake of time, but it will be posted on our website. This is the adoption of Resolution 2514, support of military families. This is as part of our ongoing commitment to the tenets of our Purple Star recognition. So as part of receiving that recognition and being known as a Purple Star district, we are required to fulfill certain duties, namely maintaining a website, having staff that's trained in the challenges of military families, and providing additional opportunities for military families to have access to information. And then we do lots of really fun social gatherings. So Bunky is in charge of that program and has done an outstanding job. So this resolution really just is about our support for military families, recognizing unique educational challenges that our military students face, ensuring that we create a welcome and supportive environment for military families, and make sure that these families have equal access to the resources and materials they need. So again, you all have this in your agenda, and it will be posted online. Any discussion prior to the approval of this resolution? Is there a motion to approve the adoption of Resolution 2514, support of military families?
So moved.
Right. It's been moved by David and seconded by Lori to approve Resolution 2514. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Motion is approved. Okay. Sorry, I've lost my page. Okay, we are getting there. Stick with us. Okay, we'll now move on to our second portion of public comments. These are comments on non-agenda items. I will call your name, same as before. Please come to the podium. You will have 3 minutes to address the board. And comment. First this evening, we have Chris Doherty.
Hi, good evening. My name is Chris Doherty, and I am the parent of 2 students in PSD. I wish I could stand up here with confidence that the Peninsula School District supports every child every day. Unfortunately, I cannot. Peninsula School District has heavily leaned on their legal team to allow LifeWise, a Christian nationalist organization who is set on indoctrinating students with ideals that LGBTQ plus students or students who do not follow their brand of Christianity are immoral. Washington State functions as a may release state. Districts are not required to release students at all. Everett School District is leading the fight and standing strong against Christian nationalism by not allowing LifeWise in their school district, and other districts are following their lead. Unfortunately, Peninsula School District folded almost immediately. PSD also permitted a Super Signer event at Gig Harbor High School, hosted by Let's Go Washington, an organization widely described as far-right and financially backed by Brian Haywood. The event featured a speaker who, according to multiple news reports, had previously been involved in a misconduct scandal involving explicit content in a shared office space. Allowing this event in our schools was deeply disappointing. Peninsula School District can claim that having these 2 organizations on public school grounds does not reflect the values of the school district, but I hate to say it, it absolutely does. PSD has now sent out the bat signal, broadcasting to groups whose rhetoric harms or targets our BIPOC and LGBTQ plus students and community that Gig Harbor is a place where that racism and bigotry is tolerated. Racism is a problem in Gig Harbor, along with the onslaught of anti-LGBTQ rhetoric that we see daily on local community social media, as well as in the lived experiences of our students and educators in our schools. Tonight, I am asking the superintendent and this board to choose courage over convenience. Our students are watching to see whether the adults charged with their education will actually protect them, whether we will place their safety, dignity, and belonging above political pressure or outside agencies. I urge you to take meaningful action, set stronger boundaries, enforce clearer policies, and make it unmistakably known that Peninsula School District will not be a platform for organizations or events that make any child feel unsafe or unwelcome. Every student in this district deserves to learn in an environment where their identity is respected and their humanity is valued. I hope you will rise to that responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you. And next is Donna Mayer.
Good evening. My name is Donna Mayer, and I'm a community member and a former educator. Because student safety is always top priority, I'd like to address the Peninsula School District's procedure for removal and release of students during school hours. I saw this on your website. And I'm bringing this up particularly because recently outside groups have been removing students from school, and these are not people who are within our school system, and so they're not known members of our school system. So I would like to request that you review the school board. I'd like to ask you to please review your current policy and consider possible additional requirements for student removal and release to further protect student safety. According to your website, section 3124P, in the student section, says procedure, removal, release of students during school hours. Part E, prior written authorization from the residential parent or guardian is required before releasing a student into someone else's custody unless an emergency situation arises. I'd like the board to please consider additional requirements for student removal and release to increase student safety. Would you please consider requiring the following: that anyone picking up a student be requested to show photo identification. And second, that the parent or guardian provide the name of the person picking up the student. And lastly, that they verify the name of the person picking up the student matches that of the parent has provided. I believe these additional requirements will enhance student safety and better protect the Peninsula School District's responsibility for student welfare. Thank you for considering that.
Thank you. Next, we have Michael Perot.
Thank you, Michael Perot. I was here last, I think, April to talk to you about the interlocal agreement that you all have with PenMet Parks for shared facility use, and how PenMet has a policy, which they're totally entitled to have, that provides preferential access to their programs to those who live in the PenMet districts, which does not coincide with the Peninsula School District boundaries. In fact, citizens from the city of Gig Harbor and the Key Peninsula are discriminated against by those policies. They have every right to do it, and they evaluated it, and that's fine. But for the school district to enter into an agreement with an organization that doesn't treat all residents of the Peninsula School District the same is troubling. After coming here, Director West, I know you were surprised by that. Same with you. And well, all of you were, is what I understand. And I had a nice meeting following that with the superintendent, the director of Penn Met, and one of their board members, but it doesn't seem anything's happened. Where again, children are signing up for basketball, but if you live in the city of Gig Harbor on the Key Peninsula, you have to wait a week and then pay a 20% surcharge, penalty surcharge on the program if there's space available. You may not even get in. I know we live near Harbor Ridge. My daughter couldn't play there. She had to play somewhere else. Kids who walk to this school have to pay more if they can get in to play here at all. But those from the more affluent side of the school district get preferential rights. The city of Gig Harbor and the Key Peninsula have strong concentrations of lower income folks. Apartments are concentrated in the city of Gig Harbor. There's lower income rural out in the Key Peninsula. I don't understand why, with all the problems that the school district has with equity across the school district and all the consternation with the high schools, that nothing's happened. Director West, I'll be curious to talk to you to see what you've done to affect change, because I haven't seen any. And Director Glover, you represent the city of Gig Harbor more than any other director, and I haven't seen anything happen. So it makes no sense. It's just flat discrimination. Again, they have the right to do it. The school district has these kind of policies for preference to school district residents. The city of Gig Harbor has it. But if you're going to give better rates and priority use of district facilities, you should treat everyone right or don't have it at all. So as I said to you last time, how would you solve this? You tell the superintendent to get on the blower tomorrow morning, call up Allie at Penn Met and tell your board it's over if you don't treat everybody the same. Otherwise, you're just going to keep having these problems of inequities between the schools. And this is glaring error. So thank you.
Thank you. Next is Sarah Garriott.
My name is Sarah Garriott, still. I am here to address the district's AI policies and how they impact my child's learning, privacy, and safety. I just returned late last night from Washington, D.C., where I had several productive conversations, one of whom was with our Moms for Liberty CEO, Tina Deskovich, who has been appointed to the AI task force by the First Lady Melania Trump and will be addressing the AI task force in Washington at the White House this Thursday. I reviewed the district's posted AI policies. I appreciate the district states AI is meant to support teachers and not replace them, and that data security guidance exists. Those are important foundations, and we want our students' data protected. The concern is that the current policy structure does not give parents the level of transparency or control that we expect. AI use in schools must begin with clear parental rights. The district has not outlined any parental consent process, opt-in or opt-out, or notice to families before AI tools are introduced to students. I am asking for 5 improvements. 1, create a formal parental consent process. No student should use AI tools without a parent's approval. 2, publish a list of approved AI tools. Include what data each tool collects, how it is stored, and how long it stays in the system. 3, report AI use to parents each year. Families should know how AI is being used in classrooms, what safeguards are in place, and any issues that occurred. 4, form an oversight committee. That includes parents. AI governance should never be limited to administrators or vendors. 5, not least, guarantee that AI tools will not generate or deliver content that carries ideological or political framing. Parents have the right to know what influences reach their children. I support responsible innovation. I support tools that strengthen teaching and protecting student privacy. What I am asking for is clarity, accountability, and a voice for parents. These steps align with the district's stated goals and support a stronger partnership with families. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Hey, that concludes public comment for the evening. Item 10 on the agenda. Sorry, sir, you have not signed up. So in order to...
I came in late.
And in order to address the board, you have to sign up before. But if you want to come to the next meeting, you will find these sign-up sheets. So please sign up, and then you can always email us. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, item 10 is our superintendent's report.
Yes, thank you very much. Since it is 9 o'clock, I'm going to be brief. Since this is our only board meeting in December, I want to wish each of you a joyful winter break. I want to welcome Matt onto the board and thank David for rerunning and being reelected. So congratulations to both. Because we did not meet in November, I'd like to take just a quick moment to recognize last month's important observances, including National Native American Heritage Month, Election Day, and Veterans Day, and Thanksgiving. I hope everyone also enjoyed a meaningful Thanksgiving. I had the opportunity earlier this month to meet with Senator Patty Murray's office, and really I want to emphasize what our CFO, Ashley Murphy, had discussed. It is a time of change, and we are looking at potential changes in Title II, Title IV, and what we were there is to talk about special education, making sure that at least federal dollars continue to flow as they have. And so it is a concerning time. And I think that we really need to be paying attention both at the federal level and at the state level. I want to sincerely thank our outgoing board director, as we have all thanked her, Jennifer Butler, for her dedicated service. And we are grateful for all of your commitment to our district. This is the end of the year of 2025. It's hard to know. And 2026 is going to be just as exciting and busy, so be ready. With winter weather upon us, it's like it just opened up. We really encourage everyone to review our inclement weather guidelines as they were posted this week, so you know what to expect should conditions impact school schedules, which we hope not. It's the SNOW word that we don't like to say. However, we just want our families to be ready. I also just wanted to shine a light on our students and I think that we should all think about how proud we are of having our students both represent themselves on the school board. We had a wonderful time at WASDA with them. I'm very, very proud to have those students represent us, and also our student athletes coming together. They really represent the best of all of us, and they continue to do so each and every day. We also, Natalie and I had the opportunity to go to Henderson Bay today and really listen to the students talk about what Henderson Bay meant to them and what they would say for incoming students. And these are heartfelt, authentic, and student voice, and they are truthful, and they speak their truth in kind ways. And I think that, you know, I can always learn from students when they speak their truth. And they always remind us to be kind to others, to be grateful, and to be graceful with each other. So I just wanted to end that. And we will see you in 2026. Could you believe it?
Hey, well, thank you. That takes us to item 11, which is board discussion and comments. So,
I'll go first.
You want to go first? Okay.
Do better than last time. Yeah, so we didn't have a true meeting in November, but we did have 4 school improvement plan tours where we went around the entire community and had our principals from all of our schools brief the board. And we appreciated Matt, who was newly elected, attending some of those so that he could get to know the school and what they're doing. And our school district, even though some people may not say it, we're doing very well. Our schools are doing very well, well above the state average. And I'm very proud of the work that those teachers and principals and staff are doing. I came away from all 4 of those 7 meetings very impressed by what the school district is doing. At the WASDA meeting, which I believe was my 12th one, it's always nice to get to meet and see either new incoming school board directors around the state or ones you've been working with for years and years. And it's always nice, and it's, again this year, when directors come up to me and congratulate me or some of you, I'm sure, on how well the Peninsula School District is doing. They hear how well we're doing. They see the awards that we're getting, whether it's in innovation or with special ed or with unified. It's nice to hear those members from around the state confirming what we believe here locally. It just gives us that extra feeling of we're on the right track. I attended a couple of Veterans Day assemblies, which was a lot of fun. At WASDA, as Kristen Mark mentioned, having the Unified, we had a special presentation as a board on Unified program, and we had student athletes there with some of our Unified athletes. Emily Desharm was there, but with some parents, and it was an awesome program. Having those students there tell their story and tell what it means to them, you could tell the members in the room were impressed, if not emotionally moved. And they came up to us afterwards asking, how can we start this program? And so it's such a great program. And then I'm the president of the Greater Gig Harbor Foundation, and this November we did the Basket Brigade, and we had multiple schools in the Peninsula School District help bring food for the Basket Brigade, which feeds needy families in our community, as well as at the military base at JBLM and Navy. I'm really hoarse all of a sudden. We fed over 800 families for this Thanksgiving and brought in over 35,000 pounds of food. So thanks to the schools. So thank you.
Hey, there we go. Thanks, Mom, who's not watching. No, I mean, I want to echo what David said about WASDA. I was reached out to by Natalie and said, hey, congrats. Can you go to a conference next week? And I was like, sure, let me move some things around. But aside from drinking from a fire hose, seeing the presentation on Unified Athletics was super inspiring. Seeing everybody come up after asking how they can be involved, seeing what grew from folks like Emily, and really just leaning in the communities is super inspiring. So I'm excited to obviously do this job. Thank you everybody for coming out. And yeah, I'm just excited to get going. So thanks.
I just wanted to add my welcome to you, Matt, and glad to get to know you at the conference, and happy to have you here. It'd be a pleasure to serve alongside you, and hopefully you knew that we don't get paid.
So I'm welcome. Looking forward to working through all the different things that we do with you. I think you're going to be a great addition. There have been a lot of discussions about the inequities of the Key Peninsula and the Gig Harbor Peninsula. And it's a very complicated issue. I worked for Key Peninsula Fire Department for 34 years. And the funding mechanism that's currently in place for the fire department and the parks, so you got the Gig Harbor Fire Department, Key Peninsula Fire Department, you got the two parks districts are the only separating funded agencies. The county looks at the community as a whole. It's not Key Peninsula, Gig Harbor Peninsula, it's one whole when they look at zoning and things. So they have put all the commercial development onto the Gig Harbor Peninsula. Unfortunately, organizations like fire departments and communities rely on commercial income for a lot of their taxes. And so it's the 80-20 rule, the way it was explained to me. For revenue, 80% of your revenue, if you're in a small town in the Midwest and you've got a commercial district serving this town, 80% of the revenue is going to come from the commercial, from the businesses. And 20% is going to come from the residential area. Adversely, the costs incurred to serve the residential community versus the commercial is just the opposite. So like the fire department, 80% of the calls went to the residential area and 20% went to the commercial areas. So you're beginning to see kind of the problem we have here. Key Peninsula cannot have commercial area. And so Key Peninsula, as far as the parks districts and the fire districts, are always going to be at a loss on a per person ability to fund things. So Key Pen Parks is running on a shoestring, trying to provide services. They have no program because they can't afford to have a program person. Adversely, Penn Met Parks has a surplus because they get all the revenue from the commercial areas. Okay? Pierce County won't allow us to have the commercial out there on the Key Peninsula. You have very little that's out there, and that's it. And believe me, I've tried to get some other commercial stuff out there, and Pierce County puts up the brick wall. They do not, that's a residential area, and they want to keep it residential, but they don't recognize the funding mechanism problems for parks and the fire district. So those agencies are always going to be running on a shoestring until something is done with the funding mechanisms. So when we talk about here, trying to allow programs into our schools and having them run by the parks, it can't work. We have to find some other way to do it, or we have to lobby Pierce County to allow the Key Peninsula to have the proportion of dollars that go into the commercial area on a per person basis back into that community. I don't know an easy solution. Obviously the demographics also play into it. We have a lower income demographic out on the Key Peninsula. So how we work with these parks to solve this issue, I don't know how that is. I think it has to go into Robin Denson, Ryan Mello. Pierce County somehow has to address the situation that they're creating. That's my explanation to it. I hope you'll help me in that lobby, trying to get something done. Aside from combining parks districts and fire districts into one, which is the fire district we talked about years and years ago, but then Gig Harbor realized that they would be losing money, which is, I tried to say that that's my money already, because I'm forced to come over here and pay that tax. I can't buy underwear on the Key Peninsula. am forced to come over here and give my money to the commercial district that is here, because it's the only place it's allowed to be in this volume. So I don't know what the easy solution, there isn't any easy solution, but that's my long version of the problem. Thank you.
Well, we're closing up 2025. It's hard to believe. The end of a calendar year often feels like the end of the school year, but it's not. We're not quite halfway through, but it is a really good time, I think, to kind of pause over the last 12 months. We've done and seen a lot. There's been graduates and new kindergartners, lots of budget challenges. But I would just want to point out that through whatever we hear here, whatever we work on, our schools are open every single day. And I can remember when we lived in Norway and it was dark like this 24 hours a day. The schools would celebrate light. They would make candelabras. They would make art sunshine. And I think that it's not really different here, because when I think about it, the light is still in our schools, whether or not we're making candles. But it is kind of a season of cold and dark, and that light shows up every day in every classroom. And I'm so grateful for that. And to that end, I think it's kind of time to say that I feel sincerely that everyone who comes to speak on behalf of kids or on behalf of a concern they have does so with the best of intentions in mind. But we have to start working together. We have to recognize that when adult conversations when conversations about kids turn into conflicts between adults, the work stalls, we lose our focus. And our kids are best served when adults show up with clarity and respect and a shared commitment to improve their lives and address their success. So that, I guess, will be my hope, my New Year's wish, is that when we move forward, I'm not expecting there to be an absence of these concerns, but maybe a change in the way we address each other, the way we approach the problems. And can we, this would be my charge to all, can we commit to working together? Because it should never be about winning an argument. It should always be about what's best for kids and how do we get there. So I want to wish all of you a very wonderful, restful, peaceful holiday, time off with your family, a great new year. We have lots to do yet before the last day of school, certainly. But before we see you again, enjoy the time and the quiet and the stillness. And thank you for coming back with a renewed spirit of collaboration. Our next meeting is going to be a study session. It's going to be January 6th, so we're going to get back on that rotation of moving around to different middle schools. So it's going to be January 6th at Kopachuk. It's going to be to discuss the replacement of our EP&O levy. From 5 to 5:45, we're going to reopen up that just time with the board, some back and forth dialogue. So that's a great time to ask your questions, hopefully get some answers. And then after that, we're going to begin our study session at 6 o'clock. The next board meeting, business meeting, will be here at Swiftwater Elementary. That's going to be on the 20th of January, also at 6 o'clock. I'm not going to adjourn right now, but as you know, in executive session, I can't adjourn until that's over. So I'm going to recess the Board of Directors into executive session to consider the minimum price at which a real estate will be offered for sale or lease. The session will last approximately 45 minutes. No action will be taken, and I will come back to reconvene and adjourn the meeting at that time. So the rest of you, please feel free to head out and drive safely.